Hey, everybody on YouTube, what is going on? We got a great and special night for you. Walter Bosley is our guest. I'm telling you, there are very few people writing and journaling this field that are smarter than Walter Bosley. And we got to thank Corns, the booking guy, for landing this great guest tonight. Before we bring Walter in, let's give a little shout out to everybody who is here in the gold medal position. We have Mike L. taking home the silver. Race fan, Katie in bronze. How you doing, gorgeous Katie? Brett Lewis is here, everyone, which means we can officially start the show. James Horn, good to see you. Hey, gorgeous Renee and Showtime, nice to have you here. Sassy Sandra and Dave, thanks for coming on in. Bassmaster and Barnabas Bites, nice to have you guys here. Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, and the lovely Jen A are here. Thank you so much for being with us. The Philip Blair is here, everyone. The Philip Blair, good to have you here, man. All right, hey, Big Rob, good to have you back. It's been a while since we had you here live. Good to have you here. Solar Warden, nice to see you. As we scroll on down, Princess Denali, the official royalty of Spaced Out Radio. There she is. Rule Britannia, England rules. Get over it. Hey, I'm part of the Commonwealth in Canada, man. You can't forget about me. You can't forget about the Commonwealth here. So how are you? Thank you for joining us in our chat room. Cha-Cha, welcome. First time here. We welcome you to Spaced Out Radio's chat room. Thank you so much for joining us and allowing us to potentially earn your listening ears. Mondak, thanks for joining us. We really do appreciate it. Hey, Eric Files, nice to have you back. Steve Stockton from KPNL, good to have you here. Ozzy, oi, oi, oi to you. Nicola, nice to have you here. Stu Gerson. Stu effing Gerson. There he is, everyone. There he is. Hungry Burrito, good to see you. Oh, there she is, everyone. The pride of Brandon, Manitoba. It's good old Manitoba Becky, looking as gorgeous as ever tonight. Uncle Dale and his power stash are back, everyone. Make sure you rub it for good luck. That's for sure, as we want to make sure that you guys have some good luck. Ross Smith, thanks for coming on in. Sovereign Farts, good to have you here. And scrolling on down, where are we here? Hi, gorgeous Helena. Thank you for joining us. And I think we're caught up for right now. Ron and Nikki, thank you for taking us in tonight. We really do appreciate that. And Walter Bosley is our guest tonight. You guys are going to love him. You really will. You'll love him. And he is so knowledgeable. He has a military background. He's got a securities background, intelligence background, an author's background. And this guy wears a ton of hats, people. A ton of hats, and we're going to pick his brain tonight. Michael Lestuca, nice to have you here, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us. And I know there's more. My screen just did something weird here, so just bear with me, because I got one of them stupid video cards that doesn't want to work sometimes. And Virgil, nice to have you here. J1, thank you for joining us. Ken in Dallas, nice to have you here. Richard Elmore, thank you for joining us. Zach Martin, good to have you back. And where are we? Millennium, good to see you. And Oob to Joe's Maine, you've got aliens, man. You've definitely got aliens. Walter, how you doing, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thanks for that introduction. There's probably a bunch of people out there that are going to disagree with you, but
well, you get it.
Sound great.
You get another one in about 2.5 minutes here, man, because we gotta make it sound real professional here when we start the radio side of everything. You know, because I do have a face for radio and a voice for print, so that's just kind of the way we work it around here. This is kind of all cash right now for another minute and a half or so. Hey, Parkway, thanks for joining us. I always like to make sure I say hello to everyone in our chat rooms because, man, it's so cool when they take the time to listen to us, man. D. Swiger, thank you for coming on in. Jim Christie is here, everyone. The Jim Christie. Steam Train Mark, thank you for the update in Australia that we are alive tomorrow. Thank you from the future. Really appreciate that. Steam Train Mark always lets us know, Walter, that if we're alive or not tomorrow. So that's always a nice thing.
Well, that's good. Good to know.
You want to be prepared. You know what I'm saying? You want to be prepared.
Exactly. Of course.
So, I mean, he's nice enough to let us know, which is always kind of cool. Always kind of cool. We've got about 45 seconds here before we are going to head on off into Radio Land here with Walter Bosley as our guest tonight. So make sure you give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, and if you're new, hit that subscribe button. A great way to support what we do on this show. You got a couple of ways. You can donate through the super chat, as well as you can do a little shopping at facebook.com/the SOR Vault, where we have our store. We got some great t-shirts up there. I got a couple of new items that I need to put up there for you. So it'll be really cool to have you guys wearing our swag all around. And it's going to be a good show. Going to be a great show tonight. I'm pumped up. I hope you guys are too. And I'm looking forward. Cable Guy Matt is here, everyone. Remember, it's Cable Guy Matt's birthday today. Happy birthday, Cable Guy Matt. Here we go. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram @Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help bring the world a little bit happier, make it a little bit happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Oh, this is going to be a good one for you guys. Walter Bosley is a world-traveling author and explorer of extraordinary phenomena. He has served as a counterintelligence specialist during the final years of the Cold War for the FBI and served as a special agent with the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, running counterespionage operations. For the past few years, Walter has been a personal security and anti-terrorism consultant for corporate and private clients around the world. In addition, he founded the Lost Continent Library Publishing Company, a small press that specializes in classic adventure fiction, including his own works under the pseudonym E.A.Guest. Let me tell you, we're talking UFOs with him tonight. We got a lot of UFO news that has recently come out that we got to cover. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I'm going to bring you the SOR Newswire, but before that, we're going to go to Vancouver, hit up with Shane and The Shift, go right across Canada, and we have the Thought of the Dave as well. Packed show tonight, but we're going to kick it off with Walter Bosley right off the bat. Walter, you know, we've been trying to plan this for a couple of years with you to finally get you on Spaced Out Radio. I cannot tell you how excited I am to finally have you here, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on. And you're right. We've been trying to make this happen, and so finally here we are. So I'm looking forward to this.
Me too. Me too. You know, for somebody who has a military background like you do, counterintelligence, counterespionage, how do you get into UFOs and all the strange phenomena, man?
Well, I've been interested in this stuff like a lot of us since I was a kid. And I was very much interested in it before I ever went to work for Uncle Sam at all. And matter of fact, I was essentially recruited into my career by my mentor, who was an uncle of mine. And one of the lines he threw at me to lure me in was, "Hey, if you want to find out the truth about this stuff, you ought to consider this particular career path." And in a way, he was telling me the truth. I got enough insight that I think it helped form my perspective on this topic. And if that didn't do it, my own UFO sighting in December of 2014, certainly did.
For you, having that background where you question everything, and you make sure to question everything to the nth degree to make sure that not only are you getting the truth, but you're getting the right story as well. When you look at UFOs or Bigfoot or the paranormal or anything strange that you have looked into these years, are you surprised there's not more answers that are public?
Um, yes and no. When it comes to UFOs, I have a definite position on that particular question. Why, it hasn't been made more public. When it comes to the other things, I think sometimes people can be misled by assumptions, assuming that, Uncle Sam or authorities are studying and looking at and hiding facts about all of this stuff when actually I don't think that's the case. Certainly UFOs are something that they have been looking at and been concerned with for a very long time, a lot longer than this recent era of the so-called New York Times era, I call it, where there's a lot of people under an impression that government interest didn't start in earnest until 3 years ago, which that is, anybody that's been around UFO history for longer than 2 weeks knows that's not the case. So if when you can discern what they would realistically be interested in, UFOs being at the top of the list, it doesn't surprise me that more stuff is not out, because I think there's a variety of reasons for that. The biggest of which is, I think 90% of what people are seeing is classified technology. Now people say, "Oh, Walter, 90%. Oh my gosh, what about all the UFO sightings? What about this ET hypothesis and all that?" Well, think about what I said. 90% I think can be explained by classified human technology. That leaves 10% of all legitimate sightings that are reported, wherein extraterrestrials and the like will be found. And, think about it. I think in 2019, in one given month, April or May, MUFON, for example, had 5,000 UFOs reported around the world, and I think that given month, that period of 30 days. Now, take 10% on my formula, okay? That means 500 sightings, in my opinion, would be not explained by human technology, okay? And it only takes one ET craft to prove they exist, right? So I remind people not to get alarmed when I throw out my personal formula, in my opinion, because we don't need all 5,000 in a given month to be ETs to prove or to even believe that ETs exist. I certainly do. I certainly believe ETs exist, even after my time in the Air Force and, kind of getting a feel for why I concluded, this 90% number of classified technology. It's a very convenient way to cover up technology, too, from the general public. Let them believe that it's something from another world, So there are a variety. It's a complex, textured subject, and there's a variety of reasons why we would not have answers by now, not the least of which my opinion on ET disclosure is that the ETs themselves are driving that.
Why do you believe, Walter?
Why do I believe in them?
Yes.
I think it's logical. The universe is immeasurable, right? We have multiple galaxies, okay? Galaxies are immense. We are, in our level of astronomical science, we are identifying, suns, stars that are like our sun. We're identifying Earth-like planets, based on our science and such. But the biggest reason, I think it's logical and rational that other intelligent beings live out there. And I think the biggest piece of evidence is looking at us in the mirror. We are here. If we are here, I think it's kind of ridiculous to assume we're the only ones that are here and that there's no one else out there. So therefore, because we are here, I think it's very rational to suggest that others are out there, and not just the variety of aliens that you see in a science fiction TV show or a movie, or the so-called little grays and stuff. I think there are humans exactly like us out there that have had their origins on other planets. I think we are a living model of a particular species that I think exists throughout the universe.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens very recently, and we're going to get into a lot of the brand new news that has come out later on in the show. But for you, as you've been covering this subject for a number of years now, for the past 25, 30 years, all we've heard about is disclosure is coming. Disclosure is coming. It's coming. It's right around the corner. Doesn't matter whether it's Tom DeLonge, Stephen Bassett, Dr. Stephen Greer. It's always coming. It's always coming. I'll tell you, it's not here yet. It seems like it's getting closer. But what is your thoughts on this whole disclosure process?
I really do not, because it hasn't happened thus far. I really do not think disclosure is going to happen because a bunch of people put together a petition or effectively stomp their feet and demand it. It ain't going to happen that way, and that's one of the reasons that I think that the ETs themselves are driving the disclosure issue is because no matter what people demand, no matter what they say, no matter what people here think, it hasn't happened yet. We've not come as close to it as people like to think we have. It's a fun topic to talk about. It's a popular topic. So when you get people in power, people in the know who will chat about it or make a comment about it, you have to figure that, okay, maybe they're just going along to be polite. Maybe they're also interested in it in that general way, but are they really telling us anything? I just really don't think it's going to happen because of any public effort to demand it. I really do think at this point that the ETs are the ones telling those who know about their presence, hey, we will decide when you will tell, your people about this. And I think that's being honored for whatever reason.
That really goes against the grain of what a lot of researchers today think, that it's the ET's call and not the President of the United States.
Well, I have long disagreed with other researchers and experts on this subject, and I've long stood by, my positions. And we'll see. We'll just have to see who's right. The difference, I think, between me and a lot of folks out there is, I'll tell you, I could be wrong. And if I am wrong, it's a win-win situation, because I won't be embarrassed at all if I'm proven wrong and disclosure happens tomorrow. And, that'd be great. I would love to see that. I mean, I think we all want to know, for sure, who has come here and what, where they come from. To me, it's a win-win, even if I'm wrong. So, I'm used to it. I'm used to being at odds with the popular opinion on this topic.
Walter Bosley is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Walter, one of the things that I have always said, and maybe I'm in the minority here, I don't think society is ready. Yes, there are those out here, myself, others who've experienced this phenomena, who have, no other need for proof. We already know that it's right there and it's right on the button, that this phenomena, whether it's aliens, whether it's paranormal, whether it's Bigfoot, is real. But there's the majority of society that walks around this planet who I don't think is ready, for religious reasons, for governmental reasons, political reasons, for whatever reasons they may have. Maybe it's financial, maybe it's just disbelief, agnosticism, whatever it may be. Do you feel that the majority of the people on this planet could handle any sort of ET type contact?
I think on this issue that basically all the things you said, that's a yes. There are going to be a number of people who, yeah, for religious reasons, this is just going to freak them out. There, of course, will be the folks who politically this will disturb them, and there will be those whose concept of reality, that's one you don't really hear talk about. You hear talked about. You hear, the political, the religious, the whatever, but you don't. It really comes down to what your perception of reality is. And yeah, you're going to have those people that they don't give a second's thought to UFOs and such and ETs in their day-to-day existence. A number of them, when it comes out, if it comes out, will be, oh, isn't that interesting? There's people from other worlds. But a number of the other, another number of that same demographic, I think it'll kind of weird them out a little bit. They won't know, what to make of this information. And you're going to have your people that are going to be frightened because, and here's something else that's really unpopular with a lot of folks in the ET hypothesis community. We, right now, you and I, us people that are out of the loop of the government and all that stuff, people in the know, we don't know how many of these civilizations are going to be hostile. And this is an unpopular thing to bring up because the pro-ET hypothesis people don't like you to bring this up. They don't want you to bring this up because, it's you're only supposed to talk about this in glowing, positive, these are wonderful beings that only have our best interests at heart. You're only supposed to talk about it in those terms. Well, the reality, the practical reality is there are going to be civilizations that come here that mean us harm. There are going to be civilizations that come here with the intent is conquest. Look at our own history. Okay, why there's anybody who thinks that the narrative that it could be a threat coming from space is just an evil conspiratorial lie. I don't know. I mean, that to me, that's kind of a very childish, naive way of looking at things. So that's going to be an aspect that's going to scare the hell out of people. What if, think about another thing, what if it's a species that is, let's get a little wild here, but think about it. What if it's a species that is insect-based, okay? Think how weird people get when a little bug is on them, or spiders. What if one of these ETs is something like that, and something like that with a brain and an advanced brain that thinks? And what if something like that is hostile? People will think of that, and some people will wonder, oh my God, are they going to come here and are we food to them? What kind of horrific things will be done to us by a race or species of beings like that? And this is just an example of the kinds of things that will go through people's heads, and depending upon which group is disclosed to us first. So I think you're going to have a number of reasons why people will either not be able to handle it, well, that they won't be able to handle it, but they'll, a number of reasons why it will bother them, be it from their religious culture to their concept of reality, to the very nature of the beings themselves and what their intent is. I mean, not to give anyone nightmares, but if we're faced with a technologically advanced civilization that has, the ability to traverse the stars, and they come here with conquest as their intention, all the stuff we care about, the TikTok and this and the Super Bowl and all these other things, could suddenly like that mean absolutely nothing, because then we'll be in for the likely the most horrific fight for survival that we've ever known in human history, or at least since the last time such a thing happened. And I'm not trying to paint, that it's all dark, because I think there are friendly civilizations out there. But you do have to deal with and accept the possibility that one of these darker, not so rosy possibilities, is
How do you think it would handle financially across the the board, the stock markets, people hoarding money, because when there are times of emergency, and I will say this, I learned this firsthand a few years ago when my town was surrounded by forest fires in 2017, and
Yeah.
watching people come together, but there was also a lot of hoarding. People were hoarding water, people were hoarding, you know, food, they were hoarding gas in their vehicles. If they
Yeah.
went down to a quarter of a tank or half a tank, there they were at the gas station refilling up again, watching gas stations run out of gasoline because they just couldn't handle the people who needed gasoline. I mean, there's a lot of things that I learned during that time. Then you look at what we see through the coronavirus pandemic here. All right, people hoarding toilet paper, people hoarding milk, going to the
Yeah.
supermarket, spending $2,000 on meat and other products,
Right.
because they
Yeah.
were in their head, we were running out. Now, if you translate this from a basic scale of humanity compared to the stock markets in Washington, D.C., or Toronto, or in
hmm
Britain, or Russia, or wherever, how is this going to affect everything financially, in your opinion?
Well, you will initially have, I think, okay, this depends upon the nature of the disclosure. Okay. If we are simply told, hey, guess what? A long time ago, there was a intelligent human civilization or whatever civilization on Mars, and it was destroyed, natural cataclysm or war, what have you. And that was a long time ago, and they admit, hey, we've been finding relics and stuff, on Mars. Okay, that's one thing. Oh wow, that was in the past. That's not like real, right out there. Now, if you get this, okay, there is this intelligent civilization out there. We've been in contact with them. We're communicating with them. They're far out there. That they have representatives or they are headed this way, but they're far out there. Okay, that's another level of, oh wow, okay, it's a current thing, and they're going to send representatives here or they're on their way here. But wow, that's wild. There's intelligent life out there. Now, if it gets to you look up in the sky, everybody looks up in the sky one night or day, depending upon where you're at, and there they are, that's when some of the freak out's going to happen. That's when you're going to get, it's like the idiots who are hoarding toilet paper of all things. I mean, I can understand food and water, but the toilet paper thing just amazed me. Shame on you if you were one of them. Not you, but anyone listening. I get no end of amusement out of that. But there it is, and it was weird. It was strange that people would react. Of all things, toilet paper. You could still get bread and eggs, but you couldn't get toilet paper. That was kind of a weird reaction people had. So weird, you almost wondered if the toilet paper companies didn't, create the shortage themselves. But it all depends on the nature of the disclosure, the nature of the presence of the ETs. Also, as far as people freaking out, as far as financial issues go, think about this. I've not really heard anyone talk about this specifically. Is if, for instance, we're talking Earth-like planets. Well, if there's Earth-like planets or near identical Earth-like planets, what if, say, there's gold and silver and the same kind of mineral valuables and resources as we have, right? If their economy, let's say they value gold also, like we do, and if their financial system is their currency or whatever is based on gold, let's say, you have to figure, okay, that's similar to us. Maybe there won't be a freak out. Maybe they'll look at it as, oh, a new market. Maybe both worlds would look at it as, oh, hey, we got a similar currency base. We operate in a similar way. Maybe they have a market economy as
Right.
well. Oh, wow, a whole new market's opening. But
Walter, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because the commercial crept right up on us. We'll finish that thought when we come back. UFO Talk. Walter Bosley is the man of the night tonight, talking everything from ETs to disclosure. We'll be back with Walter Bosley right after this. All right, my friend, we're clear.
sure.
Yeah, intense, man. It's an intense
Okay,
topic.
good. Are they liking it in the live chat?
Oh, yeah. 111 people
Oh,
in there so far.
oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Kind of cool. Oh. There we go. We've got about 4.5 minutes. I just got to run upstairs, check on my dogs. I'll be right back, okay?
Gotcha.
All right. I'll be right back, Walter. Sorry about that. I'm back. All right. Anybody new coming in? Nope, not yet. Shiny Ray, I will say this. Shiny Ray in our chat room. I never realized about the hearing impaired. That you might not be able to read my lips. So I will do something about that. And yeah, I'll do something about that for you. I will. Maybe I'll put it on a Facebook Live or an Instagram Live. Cut my beard. Maybe that's what I'll do. Because here's the thing, Shiny Ray. If you're having troubles, there's probably others as well who are having troubles as well, and that's not good. We want to make sure everybody enjoys the show. So, yeah. Hey, Flying Brian Pillman Myers, how are you? Coming off the top rope. Welcome to our chat room. And if anybody's new here, just to kind of break it down for you, if you're new to our chat room, hi, Rashid from India. How are you? Thanks for joining us. If you're new to our chat room, new to the show, we are a live radio show. So that's why we take commercial breaks. And that's why we're kind of in a break time right now. And so I apologize, because we're not a podcast. We are a live radio show. And the YouTube side during the commercials, you guys kind of get the back end of everything. You get to hear what we're saying and what's going on here. So that's kind of why we are the way we are. So thank you. All right, Walter, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Hey, Jesse Elmer, how you doing? And we got about 45 seconds, Walter.
Alrighty.
Hi, National Memorial. People still coming on in here. And I love it. We got a lot of new faces in here tonight. That's awesome. Sinister Shorts, good to see you. And remember, guys, a good way to support what we do, give us a thumbs up, give us a thumbs down, give us a thumb sideways. If you're brand new, hit that subscribe button. We're entering this show just 4 away from 11,000. And a great way to support this show, the super chat is open. Do a little shopping. It's facebook.com/the SOR Vault. We got some killer swag there for you. Hey, Molotov, good to have you. Here we go, everyone, in 5 seconds. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Walter Bosley is our guest tonight. We are just getting into the financial implications of UFOs and disclosure. You can find all of his books by going to lulu.com. Just type in Walter Bosley. Real simple. Amazon has them as well. Walter, welcome back.
Hey, great.
Hey.
Great to be back.
Glad to have you here, my friend. Glad to have you here. Right before the break, you were talking about the implications financially of the world markets and people being prepared. Do you want to finish that field, or would you like to move on?
Yeah. Let me clarify something. Actually, my stuff is not on Amazon, so just all at lulu.com. They can find them all there. But as I was saying, if essentially what I was getting at was if this hypothetical extraterrestrial civilization that's been disclosed, if their financial values are different than ours, that could cause some interesting problems here. For instance, the people that are the kings of our finance world, our money world, might find themselves suddenly not so powerful, not so wealthy, not so important, I guess you'd say, in the greater scheme of things. Okay, particularly if the political values of this civilization are different. Notice I didn't say better, superior, higher. I said different. This, you could see not just kind of a freak out on the part of people, but on the part of these financial leaders and political leaders. If they find themselves kind of in a minority where the values of the greater galaxy or whatever we're talking about here, and that could have some interesting repercussions. The masses, once they were to see this and understand this, think about how they would suddenly think, hey, we don't have to worry about stuff anymore. Credit debt, you might see people saying, I'm not paying you anymore, because suddenly this world we live in, it does not just mean this planet or our solar system, it means the greater area, quadrant of space or what have you, okay? And you might see people just, walking away from their financial responsibilities, so to speak. Suddenly, the people that really control resources, assets, and I'm not an anti-wealth guy. I'm very much not a collectivist or a socialist or communist in any way. Believe me, I'm not any kind of Marxist. But the term, the guys who control who has the wealth, right? The wealth distribution, as they like to say, on the other side of the spectrum, you could see that whole thing be kind of toppled if this bigger, more powerful, more advanced civilization shows up here and they have these different financial and different political values. So you could see that kind of thing going on. If you remember the old TV series V, which I think was remade or re-released or something, you saw certain corrupt politicians and wealthy people becoming buddies with the aliens, right? The power people becoming buddies, and it was the common people who were enslaved and had to fight them and such. But imagine if an ET civilization arrives here with a different financial, a different set of financial values, a different set of political values, you might see the masses, the common people, embracing the ET civilization and kind of kicking their own governments, countries, civilization to the curb. We don't have to listen to you anymore because there's this bigger civilization, and we like the way they do things. So it could topple the very people who are controlling the info that we perceive, are controlling the info right now, and that may be one of the reasons why they don't want to reveal it. That may be one of the reasons why they're concerned about a freak out of the masses, because it might be a revelation, or kind of, you might be enlightened more than they want you to be. And here's the irony in that. Even though that could happen, right? That does not mean that ET civilization that would be embraced by the masses under these particular circumstances I've spelled out, that does not mean that ET civilization being embraced are necessarily good guys. This could all just be based on the perception of power and who's got it. And so, that's another way of looking at some of the problems that might come with disclosure. So I think there's a combination of there's probably a fair percentage of self-interest involved in why disclosure hasn't happened. But I think it's a combination of the ETs. I think the ETs are primarily driving it, but to a degree, our leadership would go along with it, I think, possibly for these reasons that I've laid out, the problem with the financial values and the political values, if they happen to be significantly different.
I want to ask you, because you said something very interesting in the first half hour about the history of this subject, that, for a lot of people, this is a new topic. It only started, with the Nimitz incident. We seem to have forgotten about the past, especially
Yeah.
for people who may not be as familiar as our listeners are, or you are, or I am, about places like the Phoenix Lights, Roswell, Kecksburg, Shag Harbor, the Marfa Lights. I mean, we could go on and on about these scenarios that have happened. Do you think that whoever they are within the government, are truly trying to withhold the UFO history by starting off a new history pattern because it's militarized with the USS Nimitz?
Well, even that you're asking, even that's not new. I think they've been doing that since what you just described, since the late 40s. Now, on the issue of the people who think it all began with the Nimitz and the New York Times article and such, you're talking about a lot of people who, it's not that they've forgotten UFO history, they're completely ignorant of it. A lot of them are just new to this topic. So unlike the way things used to be when you and I were younger in previous generations, where, for example, take movies. This is just an example. When I was a kid, okay, I was aware of movies from the silent era, Laurel and Hardy, Charlie Chaplin, right? And I was aware of movies from the 30s and 40s. I was aware of movies from the 50s, and then movies from the 60s, right? And I had grew up watching examples of all of them. And there came a time, though, the generations after ours, where you ask a young person, even in their 20s, about movies, and they're not aware of any movies. They haven't watched anything prior to 1980. That's just an example in movies right there. You can find a similar thing with music. It seems like in our times, ignorance of the past has become much more rampant than it ever was before. Okay, recent generations after ours, they don't seem to value knowledge of the past. So they just don't know that. They don't care for the past. And that's what we're seeing in the UFO community of people interested in it. They're just ignorant that there was Project Blue Book. They're ignorant of anything before their beloved Tic Tac and New York Times and all that stuff. Now, there's other people who should know better, who, shame on them in our community, who are advocating this outlook. Oh, this is all different. Oh, the game has changed. The game has not changed. It's the same old, same old. Okay. For instance, I was in a discussion with one of these newbies, let's call them, and he was all up in a dither over the New York Times article. The New York Times articles we're talking of the last 3 years. So it took me about 12 minutes to get on the internet and do a search, and I found from the mid 50s up through the 70s, I found numerous newspaper articles, some of them in the New York Times itself, that were not mocking. That's the other thing they say. Oh, if they were reported, they were mocking, all of them. No, they weren't. Reporting it at the same attitude, same level of seriousness as the ones in the last 3 years. And I pointed out, I said, look at this. This dates back several decades. This is nothing new. And, the reaction you get is a stubborn refusal to accept that. So not only do you have an ignorance of the past, you have a stubborn refusal to acknowledge the past. This is a serious problem in our society in a deeper way than just UFOs. That's a problem. That's because that's how very bad things can happen again if you don't know, that they happened before. So it really it boggles, it kind of boggles my mind and amuses me that we've seen this over the last few years, that the game has changed. It's never been like this before. The media has never taken it so seriously ever, and they're speaking in these complete attitudes like that, and you can point out the examples where that's not the case, and they don't want to hear it, or they're totally surprised. Now, yeah, I think someone is totally happy with that happening. I think they're totally happy with that narrative, and they've been driving it. And it's the same people that have been doing things in the past. Primarily, look at the military. If you've got advanced technology, particularly, Army Air Corps and then U.S. Air Force and then Navy, of course, but you've got advanced aircraft that you're testing and putting in the skies, how convenient that this UFO thing has been so popular.
Right.
I certainly think that for a long time they've been, playing with the UFO narrative to their benefit when it comes to classified technology, and this is no different. I am of the personal opinion Tic Tac is not from another world. I do not believe for a second that our government does not know what the Tic Tac is. This narrative that they don't know, who it's from is nonsense. From my perspective, with my background, I see this as advanced technology being kind of litmus tested against our own personnel to see how they'll react, to see how our aircraft will, be able to perform compared to it. And, it's just the same old, same old. It's our own thing. And I'm not saying it's piloted. It's very likely with the way it was maneuvering and the speeds and stuff, very likely that it was drone. But, when I hear a pilot say, well, if I didn't know about it, it's not ours, I just want to pull him aside and say, come on, Commander, you know better than that statement. Because unless you're specifically working an advanced technology project in certain early stages of it, in certain stages up to a point, I don't care how hot shot a, sky captain you are, if you're not on that program, you ain't going to be briefed in because you don't have a need to know. And part of the reason, that's valuable is for this scenario, the way I see the Tic Tac issue is they don't want every pilot knowing what they got, so that when they, want to test this, against human reaction. Okay, they get that honest, sincere, what the heck is that reaction. I think that's what the Tic Tac was all about. That's not a popular conclusion. It was particularly unpopular 2 or 3 years ago. More and more people, I think, are beginning to see, yeah, it's probably ours, and you know, that's where I've been on that thing from the get go.
May I butt in here for a quick second? Because I do have a question for you
Sure.
regarding that. Okay. So maybe it's our ignorance as a public, especially for those of us who have never served in any sort of military organization. However, in the United States, does it work that if the U.S. Air Force is working on special projects, that the Navy or the Marine Corps or the United States Army won't know about it? The Joint Chiefs may, but the actual uh, armed forces, the way they're segregated, would not know what the other one is doing behind closed doors.
Oh, sure, sure. Now, on the levels of the aerospace companies that are developing it, you might have a joint service, um, uh, group of personnel who are briefed in. But in general, and particularly with the common soldiers, sailors, Marines, and stuff, absolutely, they're not going to know what the other branches are doing. But even on a higher level, they're not necessarily, the Air Force could be developing something that the Navy, isn't briefed in on. And likewise with the Navy. The Office of Naval Intelligence and Naval Research, especially, has been around longer than any of the branches' special offices. I mean, they've been doing the secret stuff for well over 100 years, as we know. The Office of Naval Intelligence and Office of Naval Research. So they've been doing their own thing. And where they would learn about it would be when it's finally developed in time to release it and apply it to the field. Then the Air Force would go to the Navy or vice versa and say, hey, look at this new thing we got. You guys need to get in on it. And that's where you have like the Air Force and Navy having the same aircraft, but they call it something different because each one has their own designators. That's a down the road thing, but absolutely in certain stages of development, not all branches are informed just because there's all sorts of things driving that not being the case, that they're not.
I know this.
To me, it's totally irrational because I've lived in that world and I've seen it and I understand in that practical real world sense how it works and such.
See, that just blows me away that you're supposed to be on the same team, and yet the Air Force is hiding its technology from the Navy and vice versa. Because the Air Force and the Navy are the two big ones out of the four.
I said while it's in certain stages of development.
Right.
Okay. At some point, of course, they're gonna share this, of course, because we are all on the same team. But it also depends on what it is. When you're talking about things in the sky, I would venture to say that the Air Force, let's say this, I'm willing to say this, the Air Force will brief in the Navy. It's more normal that they would brief in the Navy guys on an aircraft, okay, a platform in the sky, because obviously it's an aircraft and both services use aircraft. But I would not expect at all for the Navy to brief in the U.S. Air Force on a surface platform that they are in the development phase on necessarily. Okay, now when it gets to the point where they're going to be deploying this out on the seas, under those skies, which both the Air Force and Navy could be patrolling, at that point, yes, they're going to let the Air Force guys are going to be told, hey, if you see this weird thing out on the seas, that's ours. Oh, okay, great. But we're talking in the development phase here, okay? And that's what I think, when you put it in the context of the Tic Tac, that's what we're talking about, is the development phase. No, they are keeping that at a certain point and up to a certain point, they got to keep that very close to vest until it's time, until that phrase, need to know. Once the need to know arises, then those with that need to know are, the info is shared with them.
So to combine everything with what you said with the way we talked about people around the world trying to understand what is going on, is this a controlled disclosure that we are going through? So we got about 3.5 minutes, because it wouldn't just be the United States or North America or the Allies. This is something that would affect every person on this planet. So is it controlled, or is it at the point right now where it's more about confirmation?
On the issue of, let's say disclosure, does come through our Earth-based authorities and not the ETs themselves. It's going to be a controlled situation. So if that's what's going on, yeah, you betcha it's a controlled thing. It's going to be fed to us piecemeal and so forth. What was the other part of your question?
Whether or not it's confirmation.
Okay. My opinion that, the authorities, they don't need confirmation. It's my opinion that on whatever levels they know already. But, and confirmation to the people, like it or not, for better or worse, I would say they and the ETs have decided that, it's not time for us, the masses, to know. And so they're not too concerned what a small number of voices think about that. Remember, think of the billions of people that are on this planet. Tell me the truth. Be honest. How many do you think are really thinking about UFOs and disclosure as much as, for example, the UFO community here in America? In all honesty, this is only really a very small percentage of humanity on this planet that really gives that much of a darn about this subject. It's a big deal to us talking about it and to this audience. But when you look at the bigger picture, just on this planet, the nations of the world, most people, a lot of people in this world are just concerned with their day-to-day lives and raising their kids and feeding them and getting along and getting through life or whatever, pursuing whatever they're pursuing. It's a very small number of people who are vocal about this topic. So from that perspective, think about what the leaders of the world think of the people demanding disclosure, who think this is a very important thing. It's such a minuscule number that, is it any wonder that they're not just jumping out of their shoes to accommodate those who want disclosure? No, it doesn't surprise me at all. They're keeping an eye on those voices, but I think in the big picture, there's not as big a demand for this as people in our community likes to.
No, and I understand that. As we got about 45 seconds here, because I mean, it just opens up so many cans of worms. Are we wasting our time through talking about this subject? I mean, many people will say, dude, we've talked about this ad nauseum. Many people will say, I can't get enough. I know our ratings show that when we talk UFOs, the ratings spike. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot that kind of goes on with that. People have an investment and an intrigue, and they want to know what is happening around their planet. And I think when we go into hour number 2, we need to discuss the history a little bit more, because we're not hearing about the past. And I know we touched on that a little bit, but I want to know your opinion. Why is it even important to today's ufology? I think that's an important subject to hit here, if you don't mind delving into that.
It's a very valid discussion. Absolutely.
Well, let's get into that. Walter Bosley is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. He's an author. He is former counterintelligence, former Air Force, and he is brilliant on this subject. When Walter speaks, many in the field of UFOs listen, and that's what we're doing tonight. You can find all his books on lulu.com. Lulu.com is where you can find them. We'll be back with hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this. All right, my friend, I'm just going to run my dogs out. I'll be right back, okay?
Alrighty.
All right. You'll hear some commercials here.
Archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live.
All right, my friend, I'm back.
Ready?
Yeah. Yeah. That was good times. Good times. It's fun so far, man. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah. No, what I'm liking about this is, you're asking questions that most hosts, most people in the discussion don't ask. So what I'm liking is we're talking about aspects you don't often hear. So I think that's probably, I hope that's, people will find it more interesting than the average conversation about UFOs.
Though, I got to admit, though, the whole technology aspect of everything, it doesn't interest me. And maybe that's because I'm an experiencer as well, where it just really, really makes me want to learn more about how this is going to affect people, because I know how it's affected me personally. I know how it's affected my life. And there's other people in the same boat as me out there who are, still trying to figure out why them. I want to know. I want to know. I want to know why I was called out at my friend's house to witness a craft on the ground. I want to know what the aliens were that I saw in the forest with my friend Samantha Mowat. I want to know about the gray at my window back in 2015 while I was broadcasting this show that I nicknamed Carl. Right? I want to know. And there's many more than just that, but we forget the human aspect of everything. So that's what we try and do here.
Well, and I'm with you on that. My experience, I don't think had anything to do with an extraterrestrial visitation. It had to do with some other pretty wild things, I think. But
we can get into that. We're about 10 seconds away here, so
okay.
Just sit tight, and we'll make this happen here. Hold on.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for tuning us on in. We really do appreciate you listening to our great programming that we do here every night. And we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Palafite. Palafite is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Author, researcher, former U.S. intelligence, Walter Bosley is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. You can find all of his books by going to lulu.com. That's LULU.com. Type in his name. You'll get all of his books. Walter, welcome back.
Hey, it's a really interesting discussion we're having. It's great to be back.
One of the things I always like to try and bring out on this show is the personal aspect of everything. Now, for many of us who tune in, especially those in our chat rooms, is they're experiencers themselves. I make no bones about it. I'm an experiencer of the strange and unknown. And like all of us, we kind of want to know, why us? Why is this happening to us? Why are we losing friends, family, jobs? There's a lot of effects that this UFO/alien phenomena has on many people, not just listening, but around the planet as well. For you, as well as us, we try and take this a little bit more personally. For you, is there an experience that stands out for you that really, keeps your drive going in this field?
You're referring to a personal experience, right?
Yes.
You're asking? Yeah. As long as I've been interested in this, I actually didn't have a UFO experience until 2014. In December of 2014. And, I see my experience as not being the classic, something from another world, as in, the ET hypothesis. My experience, I'm pretty confident, was the direct result of some research I was doing in a particular step I took in this research. Now, you mentioned something interesting when you said, why are we losing friends and alienating family and such? And My perspective is it was a long time, a while before I talked about my experience publicly. Also, I had a witness standing there with me, someone who had not been involved with what I was doing earlier that day that I think was connected. And depending upon the source of this type of experience, and I'll get into mine in particular here in just a second, but I wanted to, set this context. From my perspective, there are sources of these experiences that these experiences may be intended for the individual who witnesses them or the individuals who witness them. Okay, they could be, by their very nature, by their very intention, a very personal experience. I'm not saying not real. They're very real, but intended for that individual. So they're not really intended to be talked about or shared, because those who you share it with, it wasn't intended for them. There's no way, even as sympathetic or empathetic as they are towards you in your experience, they still, because it's not an experience intended for them, because it's not an experience they have themselves, they still can't really appreciate that experience that you had. It's like this. There's something in esoteric literature called the admonition of Isis, and that is when the veiled Isis lifts her veil to show you her true nature or the true nature of things or a truth, the admonition is tell no one. That's where the finger to the lips thing comes from. Tell no one. Because why do we tell no one? Because the certain types of these experiences, they're intended for the experiencer and no one else. Now, does that make the experiencer special among all human beings? Not necessarily, because in my view, anyone can have this personal experience. It depends on where they are in their path of life and understanding of reality and their pursuits of these answers. So it's something that you or anyone, my neighbor or relative or whatever, they can have the experience too, but the experience you had may be intended for you, not these people. Now, in my case with my UFO, I was at home. It was around 11:30 in the evening in December of 2014, one evening, a weeknight, and my kid's boyfriend came home. Her boyfriend's a chef. He works, restaurants and such, and he was coming home late at night, and he came in and said, "Walter, come out and take a look at this thing." So I go out there and thinking, okay, he's seeing a helicopter or a satellite or something. I go out there and I look up and, oh, wow. I mean, my jaw drops. I immediately run in, get a camera. The thing is still there. And I proceed to capture this thing on video. Now, what were we seeing? We were seeing what we could see of it was, it appeared the bottom was flat. The top was a dome shaped covering, but it was kind of opaque. You could kind of see what was going on inside, a movement, and it was a rotation of some type of dynamic energy, and it was rotating. Okay, it wasn't just erratically flickering like a candle would or something. It was rotating, but it was dynamic. It was moving, similar to how a flame would, but there was a definite steady level rotation. Now, this thing was, I would guess, it could have been as low as about 50 feet, maybe 60 or 70 high on the highest end. It was fairly low. And it was sitting there stationary, in place, no wobble to it at all, above my house, actually, specifically above the space between my house and my neighbor's house, one of my neighbor's houses, okay? And it stayed there for several moments, long enough for me to run in, get the camera, turn the camera on and be shooting video of it. And before I made any commentary about, it, I asked, my kid's boyfriend, I said, tell me what you're seeing. I wanted him to describe to me so that I could confirm that he was seeing the same thing I was seeing. And he described the same thing I was seeing. So we both saw the same object. The thing then started emitting, dumping almost a white hot molten substance over the side. Okay, and then it started moving in a very even, controlled manner. It maintained altitude and attitude, and it just started, moving away from the house. Now, we did have a kind of a low cloud coverage, so as it got away from the house, probably, I want to say, less than like maybe an eighth of a mile or something. We have two long blocks, and it went like two of these long blocks away from us. It kind of got lost in the low cloud coverage. Now, what the other witness said was that when he got off the freeway and was coming towards the neighborhood, towards the house, towards home, he saw this thing moving toward our part of the neighborhood, and it was moving from a northwestern position, okay, in a southeastern direction, which was the direction of our street from the freeway exit, which is only a mile away. So, and then it stopped over the house, and it was just sitting there right over the house when he pulled in and ran inside to get me, and it's, you heard the rest. Then it disappears into the clouds going in a southeasterly direction. Now, why is this significant to me? Because earlier that day, I had gone to a particular location here in the San Bernardino Valley where 4 years prior I had found something, some type of a symbolic occult diagram or schematic painted on the ground on this property. And I had had some very interesting, odd little experiences while standing in the center of that schematic, between 2010 and 2013-ish. And so finally I go out there with my neighbor, okay, who lives in the house I told you that the UFO was over both our houses. I went out there with him that very afternoon, and we measured every dimension, every line and dimension of the schematic. I had not done that in the 4 years I knew it was there, but I happened to go out there that day and got that data. And then that night, here comes this thing, which is oh, by the way, that schematic, that thing is northwest of where I live. So it, by description of what the other witness said, this thing came from the general direction of where the schematic thing is that I was out there measuring. It came from that direction, comes to our house, sits there long enough for me to see it, long enough for me to observe it, and videotape it, not tape, but I'm 57, sorry, and shot it on video, digital, and then it goes away, and it's emitting this molten substance. Now I go out there the next day, and in daylight, and what I find on the ground, corresponding to the spots where I think this stuff was being dumped, I found, and starting with my lawn, I found a fluffy, light, it almost self-collapsed, disintegrated, but this light blackened, burned, charred, like just char substance, okay, in these different spots. And that's all I saw of that, what was emitted, the next day. So what I think about this experience is, and the more I analyzed it, the more I looked into it, it resonates much more with the research that I had been doing for 7 years at that time, associated with my Empire of the Wheel investigation and those books, and with research that has more to do with esoterica, with hermetical, alchemical things, with occult stuff. And so for me, that's the source of my UFO, and that's a complete other category that, outside of the ET thing, sort of. I put an asterisk by that because, some of these beings that we call, let's go wild here, interdimensional, they could have technically originated from other planets, therefore making them also extraterrestrial, or by virtue of them being in another dimension, they could also be technically extraterrestrial. So we have to think, when the authorities might use ever the word extraterrestrial, could that be kind of a sleight of hand? Could they be talking about interdimensionals who are technically, because they're not of this earth, they would be extraterrestrials? That's for you to decide, but that's a whole other category of UFO experience that people have to consider. They go wanting to tell everybody about it. They start demanding ET disclosure, and maybe their UFO experience had nothing to do with extraterrestrials. Maybe their UFO experience was intended for their own spiritual enlightenment, esoteric, kind of enlightenment for them as, a being in this fuller spectrum of reality.
Right.
And that would have nothing to do with, disclosure or wanting people to, people would get frustrated when, hey, how come you don't understand this situation I went through? Why is this so intense on my psyche and yet nobody understands it? Well, it might be because it was intended for your psyche, for your benefit, and you weren't intended to share it with anyone. I don't know. I know what I think about my experience,
but you see, that's also very 180 from what we are hearing from people like Luis Elizondo, from Chris Mellon, from anybody currently or formerly with the To the Stars Academy, from people like Richard Dolan and others who have yet to bridge that gap between what these craft are and the interdimensional ultra-terrestrials, whatever you want to call them. And go ahead.
There may be no bridge between that I see it divided as there are extraterrestrial craft. Okay, there is physical, real world, advanced technology craft, and then there's these other things that also fit by general description a UFO, but they are not anything to do with the extraterrestrial craft or obviously our technology craft. It's a different thing, but it fits within the general topic of the UFO, okay, because the way it appears, the way it manifests, it's in the sky. It's a flying object, right? It doesn't look like an airplane or a helicopter or a hot air balloon. So, you can't identify it technically as such. Therefore, it is a UFO. But a lot of people are looking for this unified theory. There may not be a unified theory. There may not be that bridge between the UFO experience I had and this classic extraterrestrial type of UFO, or certainly not anything that's our advanced technology in the sense that we're talking about, like a Tic Tac situation or the Kecksburg UFO, which I think was the United States' first attempt at developing, the Nazi Bell technology after paperclip seizure of that tech.
Okay,
I think that was a technological example.
But that also, Walter, gets back into the whole topic, as we got about 5.5 minutes left before we go to break at the bottom of the hour, gets back into the history of everything. We have been very ignorant about the history. We don't have journalists today demanding to know what happened at Phoenix with the lights. We don't have people demanding what happened at Roswell. We don't have people demanding the sightings or the experiences of Travis Walton to Betty and Barney Hill. We don't have this. I mean, there's a lot of secrets, whether they're public in public forums and groups like MUFON, or whether they are private in government research on these topics about what's flying at Area 51. We really don't know. And I think that's part of the frustration. And like we said the last half hour regarding, it seems like for today's day and age, ufology only started with the Nimitz encounter in 2004. We all know it's wrong, but we don't have anybody stepping up to the plate to try and bring this history forward and combine it with what's going on now.
Part of the problem of what you're talking about there, for instance, we don't have anybody, demanding the truth about Roswell. Well, that may be because, you know, between 15 and 20 years ago, there was some excellent research and investigation done on Roswell that pretty much discredited a lot of the popular witnesses and a lot of the popular lore that had been around for 30 years that turns out to just simply have not been true. And it's looking like, you know, Roswell was not some type of ET incident or case at all. You know, and there's more and more people that are seeing that. But what happened was, of course, the pro ET culture with the Roswell case did this thing that I was talking about earlier, where there's a rejection. You know, you present the rebuttal to them, you present the facts, you know, that speak against the popular lore, that go against that disprove it, so to speak. And what you get are the true believers say, nope, I don't accept your argument. I'm just going to embrace the lore. You know, I don't care what you're showing, but it's not accurate. It's not true. And so, you know, there's plenty of that in the community, but that might be why, because the information is out there. It might be that people looking into that see that, oh, okay, yeah, for 30 years, everybody believed in, you know, the nurse and the undertaker and all this stuff. And yet these guys 15 to 20 years ago proved, there's nothing to that. So they're seeing the classic UFO or the classic Roswell ET scenario hypothesis as not being true, as, you know, that's just another piece of lore. So it's like, let's go on to the next thing. Let's look at something else. Roswell isn't such a big deal to an increasing number of people because of the problems with, you know, the mythology and the claims and the assumptions people make with that particular case. And that's just one example. But you know, like I said, the other problem with the historical thing is you have newbies that are of generations that they literally don't value looking at the past. So to them, why should they consider, you know, what went on in ufology in the 50s, 60s, and 70s? Well, my argument is because the same type of games being played with us by military psyops people, for example, the same type of games being played now have been played before. And if you're aware of it, you'll recognize it for what it is, and you'll be able to better recognize when you're being played. Okay, but no, these are things they want to believe. So therefore, they don't want to know the past that will go against what they want to believe.
We got about 90 seconds here before we have to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, Walter Bosley is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Walter, moving forward, how do we try and blend the two? Is it even possible?
Blend the two? You mean the non-ET?
The past with what's going on today.
Past with what's going on today. Well, the best way to start is to have a grasp on the past. To you know, you're going to understand what's going on today a lot better if you know what happened in the past. It's truly that simple. So really, to start that process, you know, the people that are ignoring the UFO history just need to not ignore the history anymore. They need to do their homework. Okay, they need to, you know, get up to speed, as it were, so that they know what the heck they're talking about. Because those who don't know the history, but they're having a lot of opinions about this, you know, they don't know what they're talking about. And those who do know the history are kind of scratching their heads and they're smiling. You know, they're amused by the ignorance. You know, the enthusiasm's great. I love it. The enthusiasm for the topic. But they really need to match the enthusiasm with doing their homework and getting a good grip on the history of the UFO, the whole topic. And then they'll see what we're talking about.
Walter, I'm going to cut you off right there. We got to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Walter Bosley, you can find all of his books at lulu.com. Highly suggest you get this great reading in. More UFO talk right after this on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we're clear.
I closed my window there because the dogs went nuts over something. I had the window open a little bit. Sorry about that.
Oh, you
if
got
that
some
was
aliens there. You got some aliens walking around.
Yeah, maybe.
They hear you're talking about them.
Hopefully they don't dislike it.
Oh, man. Opa to you, Greco. How you doing? Yeah, this is just so curious what's going on. And it would be, where I'm going to steer this to next is with the news that we were talking about before the show, okay? So that's kind of where we're going to go in the next half hour.
Sure.
All right.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Is that the one I want? And the story disappeared. Great. Oh, there it is. All right, we're good. I'm going to also play this clip from TMZ so our audience can hear it. I know you've already heard it. Unfortunately, the way my system is set up here, you're not going to be able to hear that audio because I'm running it right off the internet. I'm not running it through my radio program, but we will. I'll get you to comment on it afterwards because I know you're familiar with it.
Okay.
Yeah. Make sure there isn't a commercial, and of course there is. All right, we'll leave it right there. Kind of go from there. We've got about just under 3 minutes here.
Okay.
This is a great show so far. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, okay, good. I'm delivering that. Good.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you're delivering good. The audience is loving you here. We're up to
Okay.
Or 146 now. We were at 151 in our chat room.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, apparently, no, I'm not. According to Corrence, the booking guy, I'm going to be talking about tacos instead. Tacos. We're going to get into tacos next segment, according to my booking guy. I don't know.
Tacos.
Yeah. You have no idea what it's like to live in a town where there's no Taco Bell or Taco Time. You have no idea.
Okay.
It hurts, man. I take it personally.
Tough to live without, right?
Yes. Very much so. You don't know the pain. You don't know the pain. It's one thing I loved about driving down to California a few years ago along the I-5. Every exit had a Taco Bell in it. I was in heaven. I was absolutely in heaven.
Yeah, tacos are something that even when it's not real, even when it's not authentic, it's still good stuff, right? It's just good.
Mm-hmm. Joey says, why don't you make your own tacos, Dave? You don't understand. When you haven't had Taco Bell, see, you guys take it for granted. I used to take it for granted. Never again. Never again.
I've had my share of times living back east in places where you couldn't find it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So
It hurts.
I feel your pain.
Thank you to Ben from UFO Garage for that amazing super chat. It is a good way to support what we do. Thank you to everybody who's given us the thumbs up, thumbs down, and all the newbies who've hit that subscribe button. We're 4 away from 11,000 subscribers. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I really do appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with our guest, author Walter Bosley. He's former U.S. counterintelligence. He is former everything military. Man, is there anything in the military you haven't done, Walter? Let's just be honest.
A lot. Yeah, please. I've a very limited experience, actually. You know, just an OSI agent and
just an agent.
Counterespionage.
Little bit of agency here and there. Yeah, I know how it goes. As I want to be a spy one day too. I really do. I want to be the oldest Canadian UFO spy. That's my goal.
The beauty of the world of intelligence is you can be older and do it. You know, it's not just a young man or young woman's game. It's a game for all ages.
Very true. I still have hope. Then I'm still young enough to get the retirement package too, I think.
There you go.
I think. My friend, you know, we've seen a lot in the news over the last few days regarding UFOs. And it all started with an interview from Fox News' Maria Bartiromo talking to former DNI John Ratcliffe about the UFO subject, where it's weird that he would go off on saying this is a bigger issue than what we have seen before or what's been released. Basically saying there's sightings all over the world, and he says, to quote him, and when we talk about sightings, the other thing I will tell you, it's not just a pilot or just a satellite or some intelligence collection. Usually, we have multiple sensors that are picking up these things. How grandiose was this statement towards the UFO field and really starting to open up that door a little bit more?
Well, that's the good question, because on superficially, it might appear to be a really exciting statement, like, oh my gosh, they're telling us something. But then you have to go back and say, well, maybe not. Maybe it's vague enough on the specifics that it might be that it's a statement where people could fill in the blanks. So you make a statement like that in a certain way, and people can fill in the blanks. And if they fill in the blanks in the direction that you don't want them to talk about, or that's in the wrong direction, the way you made that statement gave you wiggle room, gave you culpable deniability, right? So if let's say they guess, with the filling in the blanks, they guess what is supposed to be hidden, then that same person can come back and say, well, wait a minute, ET is not exactly what I said. You know, this is what I said. I didn't mean ETs by that. So from my perspective, what I see is a statement with a lot of wiggle room. And it could just, and in all fairness, could it be a sign of disclosure, imminent disclosure or looming, whatever, however you want to look at it? Yes, it could be that. However, on the other hand, it could also not be that. It could be, something that gives them enough wiggle room to say, well, no, that's not what I meant. But it could also be not what they meant. It could have to do with trying to cover something that they know what it is, but they want to give you this vague, well, satellites, not pilots, not pilots, not meaning not our known aircraft, things like that. Well, they could still be talking about, another nation's aircraft or technology. So unfortunately, I see wiggle room in that kind of statement. So because of that, I don't really put a lot of energy or stock into statements like that, because it's just, you're just spinning your wheels.
What about when Marco Rubio comes out? I mean, first he came out about 6 months ago stating that he was very concerned as head of the Intelligence Committee about what is happening with these objects flying in military airspaces. Then we find out, which we already knew, the big secret again, which we already knew, which was, the nuclear facilities getting shut down and turned back on by these craft. And Rubio comes out again on TMZ, and talking about, the potential of aliens, and we have to find out what they are. What does that mean to you?
Well, in the way that he said the statements, I see another example of what I'm talking about. If you go back and you actually watch that again a few times and you see the way he said stuff, he gave himself wiggle room, I think, if someone wanted to try to pinpoint, you're talking about ETs. I think he gave himself wiggle room, while at the same time, he was kind of patronizing the guy asking the question. Because he's a politician, right? He's not going to give you the, hey, you, I got nothing to say about that. He's not going to say, hey, you, just shut that down. We're not talking about that. The guy's a politician. So, of course, he wants to, hey, let's entertain this in a discussion. Now, you and I had discussed that it's too bad that there wasn't someone a little more adept with this topic that would have known how to ask questions, particular questions in a particular way that would actually have put Rubio under a little bit more pressure, with his answers. And that would have been much more interesting, Unfortunately, it's someone who was just kind of, really still in that general perspective. So it unfortunately allowed wiggle room, but not to completely rain on the parade. It's also what Rubio also said, the other side of that coin. The way he said it was, let's say if and when disclosure does come, he can point to that and say, well, I was giving you a hint. I was telling you it was coming, right?
Well, let's play the clips so our audience can hear it. You don't mind? Here we go.
Sure.
It's about 2 minutes here. This is from courtesy of TMZ. And, of course, it's not playing. It's not playing. Why isn't it playing? There we go.
You're on that Senate Intel Committee, man. I saw you guys are supposed to be, the government is going to actually have to put out everything they know about UFOs to the public. I guess it's not.
Well, for me, the whole thing was this, and that's why we put that language in there. And then people think about space aliens. For me, there's stuff flying over military installations, and no one knows what it is, and it isn't ours. So for me, that's logical. You want to know what it is. I mean, it's common sense, right? Stuff's flying over the top of your most sensitive installations, and it's not ours, and no one knows whose it is. You should find out what it is and tell.
I got to play this in sections so that way I don't get flagged by YouTube on this. But in what he's saying there in regards to, we don't know what it is. Everybody wants to assume it's space aliens. That's what you mean by playing it safe, correct?
Yeah, that's part of what I'm saying. He's given himself, it's like, oh, everybody thinks that's what it is, and gee, I'm not saying that's what it is. Could be, you see. It's for me, it's very hard to get excited over a statement like that, because the fact that it can go either way, it's like, well, here we have another politician's, doublespeak, speaking out of both sides of the topic. So it's I hate to say it, but it's not a very useful statement when trying to discern what may be the truth.
Very true, but do you think it's also about dodging the alien question? Because for so long, over the last few years, there's really, Walter, been a huge division between segregating UFOs, or now we're supposed to call them UAP, from extraterrestrial or potential extraterrestrial life.
Yeah, and of course it's a dodge. That's part of what you do with the wiggle room statement, is you are trying to dodge a particular thing, and I do see where what those in the know, for example, where the Tic Tac is concerned, that's part of the problem, is the web they have woven. If you're going to put out a certain narrative there, you got to be careful not to paint yourself into some type of corner, or to go too far out beyond what you wanted to do. And his statement could be a reflection of that. Remember, he's on the Senate Intel Committee, right?
True. Yes.
Yeah. So chances are, to some degree, he might have been briefed in on certain things relative to this. More likely relative to if it is indeed our technology, than if it's ET. A guy like him, just because you're on the Senate Intel Committee, does not mean you have a need to know about all things extraterrestrial. Okay. I think a lot of people assume that, this person is a senator, they're on this committee, therefore they have the need to know. Well, not every detail, not every sense. Now, the one person in the government who does get briefed in on everything, and a lot of people, some people aren't going to like this, but it's just, this is reality here, is the President of the United States. When you hear people say, well, the President, doesn't get briefed in on every, all this, that is patently ridiculous. We could talk for an hour on why that's ridiculous. But a senator on a committee, there's no way he's going to know as much as, certainly as, the president, whoever the president is at the time. So, he's just, there's just so much wiggle room there that it's really hard to pinpoint.
Well,
what he's trying to.
But is it still manipulation of the public? Like on June 1st, we are supposed to get a report on what the U.S. government knows about UFOs, as long as it, once again, isn't affecting any type of national security. I don't see anything good coming out of that. I think we're in for a very, very large disappointment,
Yep.
And we're all hoping it's going to be Christmas Day, and instead it's going to be, sitting on your aunt's lap, the one we all hated, who always wanted to kiss us and hug us, and she had a mustache. I think we all had that aunt back in the day. And
yeah.
And to me, that's what it's like. That's exactly what it's like.
We're not going to have a Christmas Day. There's not going to be a disclosure. This report, this so-called report that the 180-day report, they've got to get out. This is going to be same old, same old. They're going to put something out that there's still going to be stuff redacted, because I don't care what kind of demand in any kind of bill, 180-day report, that is no demand that they reveal classified information, the deeply classified information. So, they are under no obligation to reveal what they know about extraterrestrials in this report. Okay, it'll be a very thin, watered down, report compared to the expectation that some people are having of it, and it's going to be the same old thing. People are under an impression that when classified information gets to a certain age, that it's supposed to be released, and that somebody's playing games and it's conspiratorial that they're keeping something secret. Well, the fact is, in the United States, England has a 50-year rule kind of thing. Canada might have it too, but in the United States, classified information can remain classified indefinitely. There is no rule or law or regulation that says that no matter what, after a certain number of years, this will be made public. Once something is classified, it can remain classified for hundreds of years until a classification authority decides to declassify it. And this is a subject that will remain classified as long as those who have classified it, decide it should remain so, no matter how much public outcry there is. And I'm not saying, gee, that's great, I think that's wonderful. I'm just saying that's how it is. And, so this report, it's going to be, for the people expecting disclosure, you're going to have two reactions. You're going to have disappointment because that's not what it is, but then you're going to have the other wishful thinkers, true believers, who are going to read whatever they want to into every little word. They're going to say, oh, see, that actually means disclosure. See this, that means, and that's, when it's not the case, that's what you're going to see. I guarantee you, you're going to see that. There are going to be people who are going to go on and say, this is it. Don't you see it? Read between the lines. This is disclosure. And, it's going to happen. And the report could be talking about, hamburgers and hot dogs. And people are going to say, see, that's disclosure. The report could be talking about, baseball cleats and basket weaving. And see, that's disclosure. There's going to be people that are just going to declare something what they want it to be. That's where ufology, the UFO community and ufology is at now. People are just holding their ground, and they're just deciding for themselves, well, this is how this is, and that's how I see it, and that's how I'm going to interpret everything, and that's just the way it is in my world. And, so there's all these different bubbles of, this hard and fast, this is the way it is, this is how I'm going to interpret everything I see, even though everybody else is interpreting it differently. And that's unfortunately where we're at. There's no...
well, it's the same old... It's the same old. Control the media, control the message.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's what's going to continue on.
Right.
So for people in your circle, both on and people like you, I'm going to assume, still have, connections within the intelligence world and everything. Are they even talking about this? Are they worried about this subject, or are they just seeing where it plays out, or does it not even make the radar?
People that I'm still in contact with, they don't talk about it at all. It's not making the radar. My understanding is, the only people that, just like when I was in, that it would have affected are those people who are protecting classified programs, those people who are the work for the firms, the aerospace, whatever, technological firms that are developing the technology. That's who would be interested and concerned for two reasons. Number one, the concerned interest would be, obviously, if all this spin up and hubbub is over something that they have developed and created and displayed out there. Number one. Number two, if it's not something that they created and designed and created and put out there, they're curious, ooh, what is it, and how can we do the same thing? And is this going to be better than what we're developing? That's the perspective. Again, like I said, it's in the big picture, it's really just our community where you find people that this is that hill they're going to die on,
Well, I mean, the good part about the U.S. government, and even back in the day when TTSA was still up and running, the beautiful part that they had was the ignorance of the mainstream media on this topic, trying to ask questions on a subject they've never, ever wanted to cover and never paid much attention to. So therefore, they're in the driver's seat on what comes out.
Sure. And still, there's really still not that many reporters and journalists that are really that interested. I mean, everyone goes on, ooh, Tucker Carlson was talking about it. Well, there's one. Okay, that's one. Maria Bartiromo, reported on it. Okay, if she's truly interested, okay, that's two. But that's on the same network. So look at the reach, that they would have in a limited sense. It's just, and that's the thing. People have to understand that this is not the big deal it is to those of us, many people in our community. This is not such a big deal outside the community. And that has a lot to do with how questions are answered, how reports are released, and how they're worded. And until people understand that, they're going to continue to be frustrated over, government statements. It's going to be one of those things where, look, the way I see it is the slow drip disclosure is more, this is my opinion now, my hypothesis, is more inclined to work like this. If they want to slow drip it, what you're going to see is an announcement about a manufactured relic, a non-natural relic found on Mars. Okay? That would be the first big, huge, grand announcement. And then they would see, okay, now let's see how people react. Based upon the human, worldwide reaction to that revelation, then they'll reveal more that they've found, or maybe they'll go to the next step, and if they've found like remains, physical remains, like skeletal remains or something, then that would be the next thing, okay? And then they'd see, okay, how are people going to react to this? Okay, if they're okay with that, then they might reveal, oh, we've had a long distance communication, like when they talk about the WOW signal and these other signals, it would be a step beyond that. It would be, we've actually had communication. Now it's, thousands of light years or, 1 million, 2 million miles away, whatever you want to, whatever distance it is, so that it's not right on us. An ancient relic, as I said earlier, an ancient relic on Mars, that's not a threat. Even skeletal remains that are ancient and old, that's not a threat. Okay, a long distance telecommunications signal, even if it's an intelligent conversation that went on, that's not so much a threat. Okay, but ETs regularly coming to this planet and moving around on this planet, which folks, for the record, I totally believe that has and is going on. In a clandestine way. This lends to my suspicion that actually there are humans exactly like us coming from other worlds, because think about it, if they weren't just like us, it'd be real hard for them to come down to this planet and move among us. And if I think that's going on, it's very probable and logical to think of this probability that they're human beings. I mean, a human being from a planet that orbits Sirius, that's just as human as we are, could put on, our clothes and walk around essentially undetected as such, as a Sirian, from planet Sirius, a planet around Sirius or whatever, you name the planet. And I do think, not saying I know, and I don't say believe, I prefer to say the word think rather than believe or feel. I think that has gone on, and I think it is going on. That wouldn't shock me if we were to find out that something like that has been true, but that would be a little bit more worrisome to a lot of people than an ancient relic on Mars or skeletal remains on Mars, or a distant voice over the radio communications, the idea that someone's coming from another world moving among us, that might, or even in orbit around our planet, that could freak out a lot of people. So I see them very possibly in this way that I've laid out. That's how they would piecemeal disclosure. That's one way they would do it.
Well, let's hold the thought right there, because we do have to go to break at the top of the hour. I can't believe we're already through 2 hours with author Walter Bosley. His books can be found at lulu.com. I highly suggest you get them. Very intelligent conversation on UFOs tonight. We'll continue. We got Walter for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. All right, my friend, I'm just going to run my dogs out. I'll be right back, okay?
Alrighty.
I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/spacedoutradio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thorne, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's west coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
For the price of one cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archive.
All right, my friend, I'm back.
Alrighty.
There we go. Thanks again for doing this. This has been great tonight.
Oh, sure. I've enjoyed it. This has been a really good discussion. Like I said, it's you don't really often talk about you don't hit on the types of things we're talking about, relative to this subject usually. So I'm really liking this. It makes you think, it really forces you to think when you go in a different direction.
Well, I appreciate that. I'll take that as a compliment if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. And then you'll have to let me know when you're making your way up here, man.
Oh, yeah. When that happens, I'll definitely be letting you know. Because, like I said, I'll be picking your brain first.
Well, stay tuned. We may have a good story coming out here soon. I'm just waiting to put it together. Waiting to put it together. And then might stir some things up a little bit. It's all about timing always. It's all about timing.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we have about 30 seconds. Thank you to Ben over at UFO Garage for the awesome super chat tonight. Thank you to everyone who has given us a thumbs up and down, and to our brand new subscribers. We appreciate you guys hitting that subscribe button and ringing that bell, knowing when our show is coming on. That's how we're growing. We're almost at 11,000 subscribers, just a couple away. We appreciate that. It's going to be awesome when we hit there. I may give a fist pump or something like that. We got 4 seconds here before we kick off hour 3. Let's have a good one.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you all with us. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for tuning us on in. If you like the strange and weird, we welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to YouTube.com. There it is, /Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Palafite. Palafite is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce Walter Bosley. He is a great author on the subject of everything strange and weird with the phenomena that is going on all around us. You can find all of his books at lulu.com. That's LULU.com. Walter, thank you so much for being on the show tonight. It's one that's really flown by.
It sure has. It sure has. That seems to be the thing that happens whenever you get into a discussion like this.
It has been fun, that is for sure. I want to hit you with another hard question here. And I don't know how well you're going to be able to answer this, but we're going to give it a try. We're going to give it a try. With everything that we are trying to figure out with disclosure, with what is being what we know, what we don't know. We hear a lot of people like Marco Rubio or Senator Mark Warner or many people saying, we just don't know what this is. What are we actually hiding? What is being hidden from the mainstream public that you think, and maybe you have some information on this, that we should know about?
It's more of, as far as what we should, it's more of a what we should understand about the situation, not really know. Of course, naturally, if we're talking about a classified technology context here, there's reasons why the general public doesn't know all the details about classified technology development. And what is that main reason? Should we need that in wartime, we want it to be a surprise to the enemy. if we go disclosing everything, if the public knew about everything we were developing, even if military personnel knew, everything that's classified being developed, it would get out. That's the problem, and it would get to the wrong hands. I'm intimately familiar with how intelligence services collect, okay, and the lengths to which they go to work against military personnel, and they target people with clearances, and they have very clever and textured, complicated ways they'll go about this to get this info. So, you have to start there. You have to understand, why you're not knowing something, you're not being told something about technology. Now, as far as things that we should know, in spite of this whole discussion we've been having, and I advocate keeping the military technology being developed. I advocate that being classified. I'm sorry, folks, we don't always, if you don't have a need to know, you don't have a right to know. But on the issue of what we're talking about with disclosure and extraterrestrials, ultimately, we are, I think, going to need to know this ultimately as our species on this planet. That does not mean we get to demand or drive when we learn about it, but ultimately, we're going to have to know, particularly if they're hiding from us that there's a threat on its way to this planet. Eventually, I am convinced of this, that they cannot wait, and I don't think they will wait until the ships appear in our skies and start attacking us, so to speak. I don't think they'll wait for that. If there's a threat on its way here, they're going to begin the process, and maybe that's what this Tic Tac thing is about. Maybe if it is otherworldly, it's possible it could be a recon vanguard of another civilization that is a potential threat. I'll give that nod to the people who look at the Tic Tac as as an ET thing. That's the scenario I see it in. If it is ET, it's reconnaissance, I think, intended, and that should be of some concern. Now, on the one hand, they're going to do a recon to see what our defenses are like, because if they don't mean us harm, if they're coming in friendly, they want to see how far out they need to stay. They want to see how our military devices can react to them, and they want to make sure they avoid that. That's one way of looking at it. Then there's the other way of looking at it, and that is it's a recon, and you want to see what you're up against. You want to see how limited or how unlimited, in whatever's in between. You want to see what you're going to be fighting against. So within the context that I'm willing to go into here for this point, that Tic Tac could be ET, I see it as that either or situation. They're just trying to see what our defenses are like so that they can avoid a confrontation, or they're assessing so that they'll know how hard to hit us or what their pilots are going to be up against. And unfortunately, right now, we can't say for sure which one that's going to be until we start getting a little more information, and we are not in control of the flow of that information. We're just not. But if it is a threat, I can tell you from my perspective, if there is a threat coming from another world, eventually they will reveal that. They would have to. I do not see the leaders of the world or whatever, I do not see them just leaving us completely in the dark until the attack of vessels arrive.
Right. But Walter, what if we are already in contact?
Right.
And
I think we.
And that could be from the NSA, it could be from the NRO, the CIA, any of these hidden alphabet agencies. There's still that chance, the way everything is segregated within government confines, that there is groups out there that are in contact.
Well, realistically, if NSA is in contact, the top leadership knows that, and leadership and certain personnel in the other agencies are going to know that, and that's the whole 9/11 debacle that we're told, where this agency wasn't communicating with that. Notwithstanding, on something like this, there's going to be more across the board knowledge with these alphabet agencies and stuff for something like this. Yeah.
So, in your opinion, has contact been made and just kept quiet?
Yes. That's definitely my opinion. I do not base that opinion on, I was not sat down in front of a file, or a video and told, this is the case. I was told this by a superior officer in a private, casual conversation late one night, standing out on the lawn of his house. Now, that sounds exciting, but look at the culpable deniability in that. Oh, and by the way, this conversation was almost 30 years ago. And, I would never have said anything about it, up until very recently, but within the context of this conversation, that's what I base it on. So I'm not basing this on any claims that I have seen or report. I'm very honest and upfront. Now that's not the only thing I'm basing it on. I'm just saying that's one of the main things. The other things I'm basing the opinion on is, I think, common sense analysis of the general situation, and knowing how the military works, and knowing how, somewhat how the government works with stuff. That this is my ultimate assessment and opinion with that private conversation thrown in. This is why, yes, my opinion is absolutely we've been in contact and interaction with extraterrestrial civilization. I can't prove it. I cannot prove that statement. And it is what it is. You got to take it or leave it.
And I understand that we have to take it or leave it regarding that. But I mean, if there is that contact that has been made, wouldn't that kind of control the destiny, or at least knowing if and when the aliens decide to drop? Because I'm pretty sure, as intelligent as they are and technologically advanced as they are, in order to get here, if that contact has been made, we just can't sit there and say, oh, hey, could you wait 40, 50 years for a lot of the older people who won't be able to handle this to die off before we decide to bring you forward?
You're absolutely right. And that's why I say, therefore, it must be them deciding they don't want to be disclosed. That's my point. If they are totally in the driver's seat when it comes to disclosure. Because if the scenario you just laid out, they're just going to say, no, we're going to do this on our own schedule. Sorry. So therefore, think about it, within the logic of this situation, they must be driving disclosure, because they'll disclose themselves when they see fit. Now they might honor some type of agreement, but it depends on who's got more to offer in that relationship, right? I would venture, we can assume, it's one assumption that can be made, that the more technologically advanced civilization has more to offer, so therefore they're in the driver's seat and they're calling the shots. But we don't know, if they came here because there's some, that classic old scenario that there's some resource that's very valuable to them, and we have it, that could be our bargaining chip. It's like, hey, you can have this, you can go at this, you can mine this or whatever, but you have to agree that our people can't know that you're here, to the extent that, the farthest extent that can be controlled. And if they want this resource badly enough, I could see them going along with that. And remember, I wasn't told when the contact was made. I was just told that it was a reality. This could have been decades ago. It could have been a century ago. So there you go. again, what are we back to? We're back to the beginning of the conversation where do any of us here know for certain the answers to any of these questions? No, not even I know. I mean, I can answer certain military and intel questions for you with some certainty, but, you know, the bigger question we're posing and that we all want answers for, you know, none of us right now can answer them.
Yet the answers are pretty out there. I mean, that what you just said, if it is, let's just say 100% true, there is a lot of doors that open to that. It opens up to a lot of what ifs. What if Eisenhower traded technology for humans? What if, you know, we do have 9 crash retrievals or even full aircraft from another world sitting at S4 at Area 51? It opens up so many what if type questions. What if, you know, the gentleman in Israel, the former head of the space security there, and his name is bypassing me right now, is right about the Galactic Federation? You know, I mean, it opens up a lot of different questions that are very difficult to answer right now.
But the problem is also in the mix, you have the liars and the fakers and the charlatans. And some of those things you just mentioned are very possibly, in my opinion, likely among the liars and the fakers and the charlatans. I personally don't buy the Lazar story. There's reasons to doubt what the Israeli defense minister said about the Galactic Federation. We have had that problem. That's another reason why the people who will not study UFO history, that's why it's a problem, is because we've had fakers and charlatans before, and it seems like every few years another one appears on the scene, and they get embraced, and everybody puts them on the center stage with a spotlight, and they're just the greatest, you know, flavor of ice cream to ever come along. And ultimately we learn that they're, you know, full of hay, and there's nothing to it, and they're you know, once again we've been duped by a faker and a charlatan, or a lot of people have. Some of us don't buy into that from the get-go. So that's the problem also that's in the mix that we haven't even hit on, are the people that are just out there throwing lies and fakery into the mix to get, I don't know, what they call UFO fame or the UFO dollar, which there's not that many of those out there. But, you know, they think there are. But and some of those people could be used for disinformation. So that's another discussion entirely that we could have, you know, are the, you know, the people that have come along that are clearly fakes. And yet the people who still embrace it. This goes back to what I said with Roswell, where people have done scholarly work and they've said, look, folks, this lore turns out to be just lore. It's not true. This is not reliable, blah, blah, blah. But you have those true believers that I'm sure somebody's listening right now going, darn that Bosley, I hate him. He just doesn't know. He doesn't know. Or he's just a guy who's telling us lies as disinfo. Because remember, he was in that movie Mirage Men, so he must be a bad guy. You know, and there's somebody out there, more than one, who's thinking that right now, probably hitting that thumbs down thing right now, just as I'm saying this. But, and we're never going to, you know, there's always going to be those people that are going to embrace what they want to believe. And that's a problem. That has been a problem. It continues to be a problem in the ufology community. Are people drinking the Kool-Aid served up by liars and fakers and phonies. And people get this so tied in to their emotional psyche that they get angry if you know, speak out critically against what they believe. This is another reason why I've, you know, over the last several years, I've tried to stop using the word I believe or I feel. I try to say I think, because, you know, just belief and feelings can get you in trouble when it comes to things like this, when it comes to, you know, these questions of, you know, what's real, you know, what's really going on in our spectrum of reality. You have to make sure you're using that brain, that you're using discernment, because there are, you know, There are the lies that are out there being mixed with what's going on. And for whatever reasons, one reason is certainly to get you off track from the truth. That is definitely one reason why some lies are out there. But others are, unfortunately, people who want to feed their egos, who want attention. And they sure do get it if they say certain things and the right things. So, for what that's worth.
We've only
It's
got
no
about...
fun.
Oh, go ahead, please.
I'm just going to say it's no fun to be told that you got to be responsible with, how you look at this stuff. Nobody wants to hear that, but you do. You have to use some critical thinking. You have to, use some discernment, and particularly when it comes to UFOs.
We've only got you for about another 4 minutes here on the show. And gosh, we could go another 3-4 hours. I'm going to have to, if you don't mind, get Corrence, the booking guy, to get back a hold of you so we can continue this conversation in a couple of months here, if you're available to do that. But
absolutely,
yeah, because you opened up a whole can of worms with the audience just saying you didn't believe Bob Lazar. So I've got 100 questions on that right off the bat here. And Nikki in my chat room's got about 98 of them. So in regards to where we go from here with 3 minutes left, what do you see happening, the following months to the end of or the beginning of June when we have that so-called disclosure date and through the rest of the year?
Basically, unless we actually get real disclosure, it's just going to be a whole lot of the same old and nothing. The people who want to read into every little thing that's said and reported, they're going to continue doing that. And unless real disclosure happens, which would be a pleasant surprise to me, because I could be wrong. But personally, nothing. We're not going to get disclosure, in my opinion, from this 180-day report thing. It's going to be business as usual. We're going to be having the same conversation a year from now, 2 years from now, whenever. I've had conversations like this back 3 years ago when TTSA first came on the scene, and everybody believed this is it, the game has changed. And guess what? No, they did not deliver. And so realistically, I really don't see much happening.
All right. With 2 minutes to go here, do us a favor. Tell everybody where they can find your books, your work, and research you a little bit more.
Okay. Well, I am going to be one of the speakers at the Contact in the Desert Digital Conference this year in late June. So go to the Contact in the Desert website, and you'll see me there, and I think they might have a schedule up pretty soon. My books are sold at lulu.com, print on demand. I am the publisher. I've owned a publishing company for about 19 years. I've published some other authors. Lulu's just the printing and distribution tool, but they make a great product, worth the wait for a print-on-demand book. But lulu.com, put in my name, Walter Bosley, or Walter Bosley Author Spotlight, and you'll get to my pages where, all my books plus, the others that I have published by other authors, they'll all be there. And I do have a podcast on YouTube, Walter Bosley Channel, and I talk about all sorts of things there, not just the stuff I research. I talk about pop culture things, movies that I like, movies that I, have made, model building, whatever strikes my fancy. But each week, I also talk about things I research. And coming up between now and Contact in the Desert, I'm going to be talking a lot about UFO topics starting this Sunday. It's always Sundays at 5:30 Pacific time, YouTube. So, there you go. That's pretty much where you can find me. And I always try to maintain a sense of humor about these things. And you have to. That's what my mentor taught me when he first recruited me into my very serious career. He says, always have a sense of humor about yourself and about your life and about these things, or, you'll go nuts. So I try to be well-rounded with how I present myself. There is a fun side and there's that serious side. So it depends on what I'm talking about and what I'm doing.
Well, we must be nuts here because we spend 5 days a week talking about all of these woo-type topics, and I don't know, maybe I'm just bored. I don't know. Maybe I'm boring. But, Walter, thank you so much on coming on Spaced Out Radio. Really do appreciate it. Coming up next, we are going to be joined by Shane in Vancouver, going right across Canada with the shift, continuing to talk UFOs. We got the news wire and the thought of the day. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Great job, my friend.
Oh, thank you.
Great job. That was everything I thought it was going to be. Thank you.
Oh, good. Okay, great.
Yeah, man.
And definitely I'm available to do this again. So have your guy contact me and we'll figure out the next time.
I will. I'll definitely get Corey to contact you because let's get into some other good stuff. I know you're a plethora of knowledge, so might as well tap it while we can, man, and just have some fun with it. And hey, you know what? If you and your son end up coming up here, going right through the Yukon, we'll stop. You got to stop in. We could do a live show right in the studio.
That would be cool. Yeah, I'd be up for
How
that.
cool would that be?
Yeah, we could wedge that in, definitely. So I will, I will keep this conversation, this dialogue on this topic going, and let you know as soon as we would seriously be looking at making that happen.
All right, my friend. We will do that.
Cool.
And I'll get Corey to get a hold of you. I got to run here because I got to hook up with Vancouver.
Okay.
But thank you so much, my friend.
Sure. Thank you.
Take care.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
All righty. Bye.
Another home run, Corin's the booking guy. Another home run. That's a good show. Solid show. Hey, thanks Raz Grizz, Sinister, Shorts, and UFO Garage Ben for the super chats tonight. Really appreciate you guys supporting us the way you continually do. Thank you so much. I love it, man. I love it, love it, love it. Awesome. Amazing. That was a good show. That was a good show. Hey, Vancouver. Hey, Vancouver.
Dave Scott, Spaced Out Radio. How are you, my man?
Good, man. What's happening?
Nothing much. Good to chat with you again.
I got to get this Zoom thing going here. Shoot. Where's my zooming? I always forget about this. Zoom.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of, I think a lot of our guests do, actually.
All right. Hold on. I'm going to quickly sign in here and join a meeting. There we go. And let's see here. Meeting number there. Do I have to put the number sign in there? I don't think so.
I don't think so, no.
All right. So we're going to try and join that. Open.
All right. Well, if you end up joining that, do you want to hook up at 36s per usual?
Yeah, if you don't mind. All right.
Okay.
Do you
sweet.
so well? Let me just make sure I can hook up here.
Okay.
All right, and then we can hang up on Skype here, if that's the case.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, I'm just waiting for you guys.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
And more at businessinsurrey.com.
I can't hear what they're saying. I'm on mute right now. Oh, these are good guys. Good guys. As we hook up with Vancouver, we're going to go right across Canada with the shift, which is broadcast at night right across the Chorus Radio Network in Vancouver. And we're going to have a lot of fun with Shane and looking at his producers. They got fantastic hair. Fantastic hair. Yeah, except Ryan. Ryan's way too high and tight. Way too high and tight. That's the guy who was just on the phone. What's happening, boys?
Dave Scott SOR.
One
Our
sec.
Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show.
You want to talk again?
/
I got
Spaced
you.
Out Radio. Come
Sweet.
woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye.
Ryan, you got to grow out your hair.
I know. doesn't really.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans!
Get the link.
It's John Resnick, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first
You want me to
responders, and
talk
those
here?
with rare medical
Well, we got to get you to
conditions
talk. We
10%
can't
down.
connect to the
We
Zoom
do this
to
by
the,
donating
to
one
the radio
grant item
station.
for a
We
new
can
Oh,
get you on,
okay.
or we can get you on
programs
the
to
phone.
prosthetic
No, I'll
limbs
hook up
to
Skype
those
right
who
now.
need it most. To
Or just
contribute
call me
to
on
Spaced
Skype
Out
right
Radio's
now.
Official
Call 'em
charity.
on Skype?
Head
Yeah.
over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We are ready to head on over to meet up with Shane and the Shift going right across Canada to talk about UFOs. Let's see if he's ready
Can we
for
talk
us.
about your beard?
You know what?
First?
You know what? I was going to continue it growing, but I actually had an audience member tonight, and I never thought about this because my beard's getting pretty long. But
It's long.
she is hearing impaired, and she reads lips. And because I have so much facial hair right now, I can't. She has troubles reading my lips. So now I have a reason to shave my beard because I got to make sure that, you know, if she's one, there's obviously others. So we got to make it comfortable.
Yeah, well, I had that same thing get brought up to me too. I was at an event, and there was a lady at the event who was in the audience who had hearing aids. Was those assisted kinds of hearing aids that you can hook up to the sound system to get a direct feed of audio in, and that was one of the pieces that she had struggled with, was with my beard, and my mustache was long, like I grew the mustache out the sides, and she had a hard time. But she said if you trim your mustache down and can see that top lip a little bit, that's going to help. So I don't know if that helps you, because that beard is looking handsome, big fella.
Maybe that's what I do. That's what I do. Good to be back with you, Shane.
It's great. We've missed you over the last couple of weeks, and we're so excited to get into the conversation with Spaced Out Radio and what's been going on in the world of the woo and the UFOs, and where we're going in this, because you have said for a long time to us, Dave Scott, that the minute that some of these stories can go mainstream, can get the respect that you believe they deserve, get into the mainstream, get the conversation moving again, will help politicians be held accountable to share the information that they know. And here you are with a story that has gone mainstream. Is this like a dream come true for you now?
We're getting there. We are getting there. You know, and what we're seeing in the United States is a lot of people coming out. You know, we all know that there's been a lot of talk in the United States, especially up here in Canada. For some reason, our reporters won't ask the politicians about this, even though we'll cover the American side of the story. Doesn't make sense to me that we don't want to do our job here in Canada. But John Ratcliffe, who is somebody who worked very closely in the intelligence community under President Donald Trump, made some real interesting remarks recently regarding UFOs. Now, this is a gentleman who was very much read into the dark side of the secrets that are held within many governments of the world. And this is all leading to a couple of months away, when on June 1st, there is going to be a release of UFO documents. At least that's what we're all hoping. Now, usually we will get disappointed like this. It's like you ask Santa Claus for that bicycle as a kid, or a PlayStation now, I guess, and you end up with, a family photo. I mean, that's what we're dealing with here. That's likely what we're
Can we
going to
talk
get.
about your Christmases? We should talk about what you went through at Christmas as a kid, man.
Well, you know what? The point that I'm getting at is there's probably an element of disappointment here as we go through this. But he also said some real cool things that really, really opened up the eyes of both people who support the Republican Party and people who support the Democratic Party down there. As we know, there's been a lot of division down there. But he said a lot of the sightings that he is privy to have been unreleased sightings, including movements that are hard to replicate or traveling at speeds that exceed the speed of sound and the sound barrier without creating a sonic boom. This is something we have never heard politicians speaking of before when coming close to this topic. He says now that some of the UFO sightings have been declassified in the past, he says there's just way more there. There's way more. There's sightings happening all over the world. These aren't satellites. These aren't just pilots seeing strange things in the sky, because kind of their job to know what's in the sky around them at all times. It's kind of a safety issue there, Shane. And yet they're seeing and they're having multiple sensors pick up on what he called these things. And then to follow up, Ratcliffe, earlier today, I don't know if you ever follow TMZ, but TMZ had one of their, you can't even call them reporters, one of their paparazzi, run into Marco Rubio, who is head of the Senate Intelligence Committee, and he started asking Rubio about UFOs and aliens, whether or not there's things happening. Now, Rubio says, look, we have a concern here because these objects are getting into military installations and what's the word I'm looking for? And where they do their air training, and they are literally going in there just because they want to, just because they can. They don't know if it's technology that the U.S. government is testing on its own pilots without letting them know. They don't know whether or not it's of a foreign adversary, possibly Russia or China being number 1 and 2 in the cause. They don't think so, the way a lot of these aircraft are moving, but they don't know what the solution is to that either. So it's a real conundrum right now, and the reporter, if we could call him that, from TMZ, actually said, basically said, hey, do we got aliens or what? Do we got some aliens hanging out here? And if you look, I know we're on Zoom here. I actually got my You Got Aliens t-shirt on, right?
Very nice.
Exactly. Thank you. And, but I mean, that's a legitimate question. That's the legitimate question right now of whether or not these are aliens, and whether or not these are aliens that we want to shake their hands and say, hey, welcome to planet Earth, or they're going to try and take over our planet, eat us, make us into slaves. We don't know. And that's part of the fear that's going on as well.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting that there's a specific here. And the thing that gets me, it's out of this same article that you're speaking to, is that quote. It says, or traveling at speeds that exceed the sound barrier without a sonic boom. So, you can't say that statement unless that statement has come up in conversation or been reported. Because I can't imagine anybody who's going to, be around this world that would just out of the blue say, without a sonic boom, right? That's pretty detailed information to just toss out there, which becomes really interesting. Now, for the sake of it, a UFO, unidentified flying object, and an alien from a different place, basic definitions does lead to you to believe that the conversation could be somewhat true in the fact that this is an unidentified scenario and perhaps being from another place. Like, it doesn't have to be Hollywood driven, but it seems to be there. So what can we look forward to next, and how credible is this dude?
Well, we're talking people who are very much in the know. They've been read into the highest levels of intelligence that are out there. Now, I'm not saying human intelligence because, we all have a level of stupid to us, right? But on the intelligence committee, this is pretty big when you have people who are being debriefed on this subject talking about it. Now, I was talking to a source of mine today. He was telling me that we should look for something to happen within the next 60 days before that June 1st deadline of when the US government is allegedly going to tell us what is happening with UFOs and how long this has been going on. We hope for a ton of information. That may not come out. What we could be seeing here very soon is maybe something a little bit more esoteric in trying to figure out where these are from. Are they ours? Are they not ours? And if they aren't ours, do we know where they're coming from? Have we made contact? This is what we need to know. This is the scary part, because we also have to know that if the United States is being introduced to this subject, this is a subject that is going to affect all their allies, namely Canada, where we are. We got to know what's going on here. Unfortunately, we don't have any reporters asking questions, but it's going to affect all the allies: Great Britain, France, Australia, the rest of the Commonwealth, and other countries. So I know it sounds really jumbled right now, Shane, and I'm trying to put this the best as I can, but it's a scary time. And I use the word scary facetiously because we don't know what's coming out. We don't know which direction the government is going to take, especially that in the U.S., and we have no answers. We're in this wait and see approach, kind of like sitting on a boat waiting for the fish to bite.
Yeah, it's true, right? And you're pretty sure they're there. You thought you saw one swim by, but there's been no evidence that's come out yet. Now, some of these pieces of this interview, this is Fox News type stuff, just to allow some conversation about the mainstream part that we talked about. We got in the conversation, Dave, is that there are clips of some of this conversation and video. We're talking Fox News reporting on this. So is this just a thing where the population density in the States is so much more, the Air Force is so much busier because they have so much more inventory and planes on the air that they see it? So much as Canada is so much bigger, we have less planes, therefore we don't see it?
Oh, no.
What's going on?
No, our pilots are very well trained. It's funny because on Facebook, I'm in a Canadian Armed Forces fighter pilot group, and I've asked that question point blank, that I would like to talk to a pilot, current or retired, who has dealt with this subject. And it's amazing to see that entire chat forum on Facebook go silent. It happens that quick. They don't want to talk about it. They're not allowed to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. I was talking to a pilot recently, a former airline pilot, who said, yeah, we saw things in the sky. He goes, I was flying from Montreal to Vancouver, and somewhere over Ontario, we got lit up. He goes, but you don't report that. Canada has this beautiful aspect of don't ask, don't tell. So therefore, if we don't report on it, we don't talk about it publicly, the media isn't going to ask, and therefore we don't need to broach the subject. And if they do broach the subject, we just don't respond to emails or phone calls or questions from the media regarding this. And in our country, we know that the media isn't asking these questions, so we've made it a pretty safe haven on the Ministry of Defense and on our government and military on not finding out what Canada's role is in this. Look, we know things are happening. We know of the Prince George lights that were reported to the RCMP back in the 60s. We know about Shag Harbor. We know about what happened to Stefan Michalak at Falcon Lake in Manitoba. We know these things are happening. We know there's strange things happening in that Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba cluster of the prairies. How are we proving it? We can't. Nobody's answering questions.
We have a text question here for you, Dave, and you can go two ways. Project Blue Book.
Yes.
Just wondering your thoughts, if that's a thing, and then of course not to be confused with the science fiction show Project Blue Book, which I don't know if that works in favor of this storyline or whether it works against it by Hollywoodizing it.
Well, Project Blue Book was pretty much a story of J. Allen Hynek. And his son, Paul Hynek, actually worked very closely on that series it had only lasted 2 years, unfortunately. It's too bad. It got really high ratings as well, but they canceled it, I believe, after 2 years in regards to the storylines. And the stories are true. They are true cases that Dr. J. Allen Hynek, who was an absolute skeptic going into this, really had his whole life turned around by the UFO subject, because the more and more he tried to debunk things in the real Project Blue Book, the more he couldn't, which is how he was able to figure out that there are things out there that are possibly happening that are not of this earth. So you have one section which is J. Allen Hynek talking about the UFOs and talking about these ET encounters people are having. And it's very true. The research has been very legit, and he was really instrumental in helping point the government in the direction of private research and not very public research at that time. The television show is, of course, when it comes to TV, there's always a little bit of fiction that goes along with it. But realistically, they tried to get it as accurate as possible. But of course, Hollywood had to play their role. So Project Blue Book, yes, very real. Project Blue Book television show based on a true story, much like everything else.
Project Blue Book, as defined to determine if UFOs were a threat to national security and scientifically analyze UFO-related data. That's what the quick summary of Project Blue Book is. Thanks for the text question. Appreciate that. So what do we do? I have to ask this question because it's the same question I always have to ask. Do we have to sit and wait again, David?
That's all we do in the UFO field. We've been doing this for 70 years, before all of us were born. Before Ryan's what, only about 16? So before his grandparents were born.
Oh, that's wonderful. Dave Scott, spacedoutradio.com. You can check out his site and the show and his podcast and all the things if you like the world of the woo. It is great to see your face again, brother. Thanks for being on the show, and I can't wait to look forward to hearing it again. We did get one question that we can maybe save for next time. It's White Sands, New Mexico, and what's the story going on down there. So let's put a pin in that one and continue the conversation about the UFOs and the UFOs and all of this.
All right, my friends, you take care. Thank you so much for having us on.
Thanks
We'll
so
talk
much.
to you next month.
Always. We've got Dave.
All right. That's Shane and the shift. Let's get to the news, shall we? The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR News Wire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes, well, Florida man. Oh, we've been waiting for a good Florida man for a while. Captain Shirk outdid herself with this one. Police in Florida have released a startling video of a suspect whom they say pulled a gun on a deputy and then bit a canine officer in the ear during a recent foot pursuit. 23-year-old Brandon Richter, he's in a lot of trouble, facing multiple charges, including aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer, battery of a police canine, and resisting arrest stemming from the incidents alleged to have unfolded last Tuesday. Drop the gun, you hear in the video, Deputy Braden Donahue say. Kept on repeating it. Nope, never happened. The Marion County Sheriff's Office said the chaos began when Donahue went to find Richter at his home due to him having several outstanding warrants for his arrest. After spotting the deputy, Richter attempted to flee at one point, pulled a loaded Smith & Wesson 9mm handgun on him, and began to violently resist Canine Corporal Donahue and Canine Scout, the office said. Now, police say a long, violent struggle then ensued over the pistol, during which Richter allegedly bit Donahue on his arm and hand, choked the canine named Scout, and bit him on the ear. Later in the body cam video, the canine can be heard groaning before Donahue said, "Stop trying to choke him." As responding deputies arrived, Richter continued to refuse to comply with lawful commands and was subsequently tasered. When in doubt, taser. All deputies and the K-9 were treated for their injuries and are now doing fine, while Richter is safely behind bars. Oh, well, good old Florida man. You never outdo yourself, do you? Never. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave is as follows. What's the importance of the UFO news released recently by John Ratcliffe? Let's go to Chris. It appears to be the next official step in ET UFO disclosure. Science Bob. Ratcliffe wouldn't have spoken about this without that last guy approving. Jim Goodall told the two of us on Science Bob and Friends the last guy, namely President Trump, had ordered the release, and this seems to be consistent. Rubio was interviewed by TMZ at Reagan Airport and stated publicly on the record that he demands answers about things overflying our military bases. He stated that the DoD and IC briefers were clueless. It adds to the pressure for answers. It is, in my opinion, the only accomplishment of Ratcliffe's timing as acting DNI, but an important one. Davey, it's a priming step, a small warm-up to further information. It is also an attempt to force the hand of the successor. Dr. Marty, non-disclosure disclosure. He told us what most of us already know. Real disclosure is coming from the phenomena and experiencers. Gil, a small step leading to bigger things. Kira, soft disclosure and release of unknown information. The government is preparing us for the inevitable contact. Kevin, I hope they buy us dinner first. Melinda, regarding his statement, take it to the bank. Senate is getting a report this summer. Only question is how much of that will be made public. The word is at least some of it will be, and that would be more info on military encounters. Hey, you got to start somewhere. Lance gets the final word on this one. It's the most important statement since Commander David Fravor. Thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Dave. We will do it all again tomorrow on Facebook and Twitter, so if you want to play along, you can join us. A big thank you to Walter Bosley for coming on the show, Captain Shirk for getting our newswire up to date, even though it was just one solid Florida man story, and of course to Shane and The Shift for taking us across Canada talking UFOs. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in. You may be. Thank you to everyone participating in our chat rooms tonight on YouTube, LGAB, Facebook, Revolution Radio, the Space Travelers Club, and all the Snarkers and Snarkettes hanging out on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night, Mr. Bumblefoot. We need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. That's a solid radio show, people. Solid radio show. Hey, SuperQuest, how you doing? Peter Steins, welcome, man. Good to see you. Joey Hayes, thanks for coming on in, man. Appreciate that. Thank you. Love it, man. Love it. Let's do this thing. All right, let's download this bad boy. That. That. Open up that. Bring that over here like so. Let's go over here with you guys. And hello. Hello, Oob to Joe's main. Texting. Oh, that's my uncle. Oh, nice. You were listening. My uncle, I was just listening to you on the radio. That's kind of cool. All right. Oh, we love it, Paul Holland. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. Oh, God, you guys got to see this. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, my God. Hold on. This might be the greatest thing ever. Ever. This is for the ladies out there. So, Ben from UFO Garage, him and Joel have designed some underwear that they're going to sell on their website there, ufogarage.com. Check this out. This is what they designed tonight. This may be the greatest thing of my life. Hold on, I got to get ready for your reaction here. Check this out. Right there, people. Look at that. Look at that. Come on. If you don't want a pair of these, I don't know what would do it. I really don't. Look at that. That is phenomenal. This may be the greatest thing that's ever happened to me outside of my children being born. They better not be playing a joke on me about this. That is phenomenal. Phenomenal. The boys at UFO Garage. I wonder if they got them up on their website. Hold on. Go check this. Oh, for God's sakes. I don't want UFO Garage lights. Sakes. Hold on. I wonder if they've got them up on their site yet. Under merch. No, they haven't got them up on their site yet. They better put those up on the site. That is frigging awesome. You have no idea how happy I am about that. Was it your idea? Cosmic Farts? Love the Impala. Love the Impala. They better put this up on their site. I'm not even asking for a cut of it. No way. Not even asking for a cut of it. Or maybe they'll lend it to me so that way we can put it on ours. That would be frigging awesome. Frigging awesome. Let's just be honest here. That would be one of the greatest moments of my life. I know that sounds a little weird, but seriously. I'm just going to leave that picture up there. I'm just so impressed with it right now. This whole conversation started a few hours ago when I said that I would buy myself a pair of Joe pictured on the underwear. I had no idea they were going to throw me on there until Ben I thought Ben was joking when he said that's what they were doing. Hey Howard, I don't think they are edible. I don't think so. Bad clam. Bad clam. I see what you did there. Hey, Clam, where's your parcel? That may be the greatest thing. I'm so Instagramming that. They better not rip me off and not put it on their site. Come on, Joe Monk. I know you're going to buy 2 pairs for yourself. No, no, no. Total clamspicuous. Total clamspicuous. I agree with you. We must, if they put this for sale on their website, we must never forget the awesomeness of this day. We must never do that. That's not nice, Philip. That's not nice. Oh, that's just brilliant. That's just brilliant. I am loving it. Oh my goodness. So happy right now. Oh, what's my uncle have to say? Hey, Void Mirror, how are you? Honestly, that may be one of the greatest things. Maybe. Although my one critic out there likely will not allow me to have fun with that. Not good enough. Unprofessional. Not good enough. I gotta find out what store they're using. Oh, they're offline. I'll have to talk to them tomorrow. I have to go on Facebook now and save that picture. I guess that means I can't shave my beard. True. Well, maybe Carl will stick around for a little while longer. This is true, Mr. Maine. Very true, Mr. Maine. That was just awesome. You have no idea how happy I am about that. No idea. Come on, Amy O. Come on. Make me feel good here. This is a win for me. Oh, it's so awesome. It's so awesome. Oh, Human Carl's here, everyone. Human Carl. We love Human Carl around here. Goddamn, Human Carl's friggin' awesome. Here, I'll give you a little comb over action there, Human Carl. Little comb over action. I look like the Unabomber got away with it. That's funny. Thanks, Vinster. Oh my gosh. Just amazing. Oh, the Desert Clams already tweeted it out. That's friggin' awesome. My life is happy right now. Not gonna lie, my life is happy right now. Here, I'll flip it on the other side now. I can finally flip my hair again. Motor, I can lend you some if you need. I'm going to send those to Shirky Poo right now. That's what I'm going to do. You need these, Shirky Poo. Oh, there she goes. We're going to get a response here momentarily. Shirky Poo is going to absolutely get me an angry granny. What? I can see it now. What? Oh, I got good Lord. Good Lord. I'm sure there's going to be more coming soon. Yep, she's typing. She's typing. I think this is a long one. Oh, we got a response from Shirky Poo here. Cannot have your face so close to the business end of things. Oh my gosh. No, I didn't do this for her. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, there's more. Did you design those? No. The guys from UFO Garage. I'd be really surprised if we put them up on our store if anybody would actually buy them. Shirky Poo is always watching, Chris Mo. He's always watching. Hey, Gilbert, how you doing over there? You know, Gorgeous Jules is taken, man. Taken. My goodness, Clam. I'm hungry. I didn't eat much for dinner. Oh. Man, I never thought about my face on undies. You are daring. I didn't make them, Amy O. I didn't make them whatsoever. They were designed by Ben and Joe from UFO Garage. I don't think on the back of the pennies, ghosts or poop stains. Oh my goodness, Amy O. That's terrible. No, the politicians aren't coming anywhere. What did Vinny say? Careful, Amy O. Binster there is looking for a wife. Captain Shirk, you are one sexy guy, and I thought it was special having the days of the week on my underwear. Oh, Captain, you kill me. You kill me. That is awesome. Good night, Captain. Oh, yes. A fifth wife. Jeez, Vin, you fall in love and fall out of love just as quick. I think it's hilarious. I do. I think it's absolutely hilarious. You're hilarious, Dickie. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but that just made my night. It really made my night. Unuploaded. Sleep well, Captain. Sleep well. Paul Hellier, he's 96 years old, and I'm not going to, as much as I would love to bring him back on again, I'm not going to bring him on at midnight Eastern time till 2:30. I wouldn't do that to him. Well, Amy, you could be the first. Once they go on sale, you could be the first. Just saying. Hey, gorgeous Larry, how you doing? Gorgeous Larry, I'm sorry, buddy. But we're glad you're here, man. We're glad you're here. And we love you, and we're going to help you through this tough time, man. We're going to help you through this tough time. Heather Thunderhawk, how are you from Sweden? Thank you for tuning on in. Where in Sweden are you? Are you in Västerås? Ornskoldsvik? Luleå? Stockholm? Trying to think of any other Swedish cities that I know of, or towns. Pattaya? No. Deer Garden? So I'm going to assume that you speak English, Swedish, and you had to learn a third or a second language. So I'm going to say you're probably German or French as well. Amy, you wouldn't ruin my face like that, would you, Amy? Put it on a mask. I would hope not. Look at Heather Thunderbolt. You can tell she's into the death metal. Look at her. She's into the death metal. She's a big fan of Ghost, Avatar. I'm a big Avatar fan. Avatar? Come on, you gotta like Avatar. Malmo, that's right. There's another one, Chris Mo. Thank you. Because you know, Heather, a stranger rolled into town. He mumbled something about a crown. Amy O isn't buying our underwear. That one's right in the fields. Right in the fields. Well, on that note, everyone, it's time for Dave to head off to bed. Because I got to work in the morning. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So I'm going to say goodnight. Thank you to Raz Grizz, to Sinister Shorts, and Ben from UFO Garage for the super chats. Thank you for tuning us in. Thank you all the way from Sweden. We had somebody from India in tonight as well. Austria. Thank you, Chris Mo. And I love you all. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Let's have some fun. Who's on tomorrow? Shoot. I always forget this. Let me check. Hold on. Bad host. Bad host for doing this. Come on. No. Let's go to events. Who's on tomorrow? Metaphysically Speaking with Bonnie Woodruff. Bonnie Woodruff, everybody. Tomorrow night on the show. 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern time. I think that's about 7 a.m. in Sweden. We'll talk to you guys then. See you later. Good night.